Erika-chan, huh? She's an odd kid. Somehow I just can't seem to get along well with the young kids these days. Oh, Erika e basta, ti direi, George. You're still pretty young yourself, George-san? I guess it's because I've always been the oldest of the cousins. It's always made me feel like I'm not the one of the young ones anymore. George and Shannon could be seen surrounded by the rainy rose garden. Though the rain was still pouring down, there was hardly any wind at all. The scant protection provided by the arbor was more than enough to house this secret meeting between lovers. Following that fight with Erika, the group had decided to play some cards for a change of pace. When that was over, Shannon returned to the servant room, and shortly after that, George left the room as well to meet Shannon here at the time they had arranged. I think kids around Erika-san's age have a really hard time accepting themselves. Yeah, that's true. Around that age, most kids are so determined to break out of the shell of childhood that they lash out in all directions with their beaks. Only once they manage to break through can they finally stretch their wings and fly high. I was like that too. When I was still inside that shell, I was a weak, deplorable man who didn't deserve any respect. That's not true. No, it's okay. I realize it myself. Back then, I might have been the oldest of the cousins, but I was still a lazy, hopeless man. And it wasn't just with the cousins. At home, at school, I was like that everywhere. I hated being like that. I wanted to break that shell and become a splendid adult like mother and father. But in the end, you did break out of that shell, George-sama. Every time I've met you these past few years, you've grown beyond recognition. Thank you. Did something cause you to make up your mind? To break out of my shell? Yes. I can't imagine that you grew so rapidly like a butterfly breaking out of its cocoon by just wandering around aimlessly. I thought that there must have been some turning point which made you become so determined. I fell in love with you and grew thanks to the power of love, is what I've told you so far. But the truth is, the turning point was a much more negative emotion. No way. It's hard to believe that someone who's always as bright and as cheerful as you could have negative emotions. Well, my parents taught me to treat girls well, and I thought that I had succeeded in living that way. Yes, I think you're really a wonderful gentleman. But that was wrong. I didn't know how to interact with the opposite sex. I deified them excessively and thought and though I always behaved in a gentlemanly, ladies first kind of way, I was probably outright afraid of interacting with girls. Of course, George had wanted to be around girls as much as any boy might. However, he didn't know how to interact with them. Scusate. He wanted to act like a gentleman, avoid being disliked by them, and treat them with care. Of those feelings, only the words "treat girls well" took precedence, blossoming into a subconscious fear of women. You might call a man like that gentlemanly or a late bloomer. Ridiculous. I was just a coward. Because of that, I started to wonder why I couldn't get a lover if I was so gentlemanly. And I eventually came to the conclusion that all the women in the world had no taste and started to hate all of them, stupidly. George X incel. That's what a truly pathetic man looks like. How many years ago was it when I noticed? It started when I was in middle school. At that time, I assumed that I was obviously the most gentlemanly of the cousins, so I would obviously be popular with women. Sì, ma alle medie, women. However, reality was completely different. At school, I was pretty much completely hopeless. For far from being a leader, I was the bullied kid who got pushed around by everyone. At the time, I figured I was just as a capable and adaptive man who could just keep it in perfect... Aspetta. At the time, I figured I was just a capable and adaptable man who could keep in perfect tune with his surroundings. How stupid. Sure, I might have gained some measure of trust from girls. However, not only was there no one who would become my girlfriend, I didn't even know any girls I could call a friend. Of course, I was a man who always took a step back from girls, under the pretense of ladies first. Who would ever want to stand behind such a negative, unmotivated man? It's funny, I didn't even realize this, and I thought I was a pretty attractive guy. I can sort of understand how you feel. Just because someone puts in a lot of hard work to look attractive to the opposite sex doesn't mean it will necessarily work out as they planned. Oh? Has that happened to you too, Shannon? Of course. One time I wanted to catch a boy's eye so much I tried to put on makeup even though I didn't know how and embarrassed myself. I remember a lot of embarrassing failures. The person that made me finally get over my conceit and open my eyes was you, Shannon. No, it was all of you. What was the turning point for you, George-san? Envy, probably. Oh, that's unexpected. But envy for what? I saw you and Butler-kun having a really good time talking. That made me envious. Me and Butler-sama? Shannon raced through her memories, trying to find a conversation that might have made George envious. He probably seemed trivial to you too. However, it still made me envious. I don't want Butler-kun to hear what I say next, no matter what. Can you promise? Of course. It's going to be a shameful confession. Still, I want you to hear it. I want to hear your answer tonight, only after I've told you about my bad sides as well. Okay, let me hear it. With a smile but a serious look in her eyes, Shannon nodded. Tonight. She knew what he was going to ask her tonight. George had the right to confess before asking that sacred question, and Shannon had the obligation to listen. Shannon understood this, so she listened quietly. So this is what the Witch of Tears are going peepsing on during her spare time? Stories of love are truly timeless. I never tire of them. However, I do find that maidenly expression of disgust on your face even more charming. Featherin laughed quietly. Henje huffed and looked away, but she quickly realized that this would only entertain Featherin even more, so she tried to act unconcerned. Both Butler-kun and Jessica-chan have always been spirited. No, phrasing it that way is dodging the point. Let me be frank. George looked up at where the moon should be, high above the rainy clouds, and spoke. They were honest words, spoken from George's meek heart. For a long time back then, I thought of Butler-kun and Jessica-chan as bad-mannered kids. No, let me be even more direct. I thought that even the way they talked was vulgar. It's true. I don't mind if you hold me in contempt for that. I don't. People are allowed to think anything they want inside their hearts. In fact, I think you were all the more commendable for not letting it show on the outside. Thanks. I secretly looked down on those two. I was so conceited that I truly thought I was just overflowing with gentlemanly charm compared to them. I was at that age where having a girlfriend felt like a necessary condition for becoming a real man. I truly believed that no girl could fail to admire a gentleman who treated girls as well as I did. So I really did assume that the girls I knew were attracted to me. I thought that Butler-kun and Jessica-chan, who always joked around and spoke in a rude, vulgar fashion, would never be able to get a boyfriend or girlfriend. I might have used that argument to distract myself when I still couldn't get a girlfriend. I was a fool. They weren't inferior to me at all. I was the inferior one, with my deification of the opposite sex and my fear, which I hid under the guise of ladies first. That's been Butler's and Jessica's personality from the beginning. True, they were rude, and one couldn't have called them gentlemanly or ladylike. However, they did have the power to interact without worrying about their sexes. In fact, you might even call that their charm. I sort of understand. People like Kuni-chan and Jessica-ne-chan can get along with anyone, whether that person is a boy or a girl. Apologies to George Oni-chan, but guys who try too hard to look like a gentleman, I find them a bit creepy. It's like they have delusions about women or something. People respect it when someone they are distant from is boring and harmless. However, they only like that person because he or she doesn't get in their way. No human being would want to deepen their connection with a boring person. Of course, no idiot wants to be a friend with an unmoving, unspeaking telephone pole. However, unmoving and unspeaking is exactly what you want from a telephone pole. That's it. It seems as though George finally discovered that he wouldn't be viewed as an attractive man, no matter how superior he was, and that he had been treated like a telephone pole the whole time. Back then, my conceit was at its peak. So when everyone gathered at the family conferences, I believed that I was the most attractive and that all of the 7 girls who played with us were in love with me. And then the day came when I finally realized how pathetic I was. Did I say something inconsiderate then? No, it's the opposite. You didn't say anything at all. My conceited delusion that I was the only one ever reflected in your eyes was crushed. Just when did it start? No, it must have started long before then. I only failed to notice because my eyes were clouded with conceit. One day, I suddenly realized it. You guys were getting along with Butler-kun and Jessica-chan far better than with me, playing around and having a good time. Yes, those two, who I had looked down upon so much, were radiating far more charm than I was. You really looked like you were enjoying yourself that day. The look on your face was far brighter than any you have ever showed me. Sickening, isn't it? I just assumed that you liked me, and even had some childish fantasy that we might end up dating. Based on nothing at all, I felt as though my girlfriend had been stolen from me and let myself feel hurt. Just how pathetic was I at that moment? When that happened, I finally realized how foolish I have been. Se ricordo bene, cos'era stato in episodio 3 che si era parlato quando i ragazzi erano andati in spiaggia. Si era parlato del fatto che Butler ci aveva un po' provato con Shannon quando erano più piccolini e gli aveva fatto quella frase imbarazzantissima del "she you again", no? Che poi ha ripreso ENG. Quindi sì, penso stia facendo riferimento a quella cosa, o comunque quel periodo, non per forza quella singola evenienza. After that, stuff happened and Butler stopped coming to the family conferences, but I heard about him from time to time from Uncle Rudolph. Uncle Rudolph cares more than he shows. Even though he gets in fights with Butterkun all the time, he's always paid close attention to his son going-ons. Yes, I've heard similar things. Even Asumu-sama despaired at how alike they were. She was sure that Rudolph-sama's blood was to blame for all the trouble caused by Butler-sama's popularity with the girls at school. Jessica-chan too. I heard that she'd built up a huge number of friends, both boys and girls, and that she was always at the center of attention. When I actually talked with her, I realized that was no exaggeration. That experience had shown that the two I have looked down upon were much more attractive human beings than I was. At first I tried to imitate those two. It was pretty ridiculous. I thought that by joking around and speaking rudely, I could get the same charm they had. You did that? It's a bit hard to picture. It was pathetic. I wish I could forget that time for the rest of my life. In any event, I quickly realized that I would never gain any true charm by imitating them like that. I called it respecting people. I called it acting to fit in with the general atmosphere. But I actually was always just running away. And this cowardice was the reason for my lack of charm. I resolved myself to overcome that flaw and be reborn. I finally understood that the shell I was in, and swore to break out of it. Every time my resilience began to waver, I would remember that day. That day I saw you all forget about me entirely and play around happily. And the fact that those eyes of yours, which I always assumed were attracted to me, never noticed me at all. I made an oath. This time I would really make you take notice of me, and I would be reflected in your eyes. The truth is, that was the very first emotion, the start of me falling in love with you. It must have been complicated. That day I felt a desire for revenge against you all. No, against you specifically, for playing as a group and ignoring me. And before I knew it, that emotion had transformed into true love. Facciamo veramente delle trasformazioni alchemiche qua, George. È un po' problematica la situazione. However, I swear this to God, even though that was the reason I first started to take you seriously, there are no lies in the way I feel about you now. I swear love to you for all my life. I will not lie about that for anyone or anything. And I am prepared to take you as my wife, even if it means having the entire world as my enemy. That's the confession I wanted to make to you beforehand. Before now I've called you my first love, love at first sight. That was a lie. It was only my selfish, twisted... That doesn't matter. Shannon smiled, but she spoke forcefully enough to interrupt George's words. Is there some rule saying that people can get together just because they weren't each other's first love? Is it betrayal to forget the first person you fell in love with? Love isn't that simple. Well, it might be simple. After all, love is easy. Always, whatever you feel now. Only the honest feelings you feel now can tell you the right answer. So, things of the past and how our relationship started aren't important at all. Then I confessed for nothing? No. I am a bit glad to learn that even George-san, who's always perfect at everything, has a human side to him. And it makes me happy to know that I'm the only person you've told this. Thank you. I was only able to become who I am because of you. Me too. I am as I am because of you, George-san. So please, tell me without holding back what kind of husband and wife we will be, and what kind of future we will be together. When I have you as my wife, I will become an even more accomplished businessman than my father. And through all kinds of challenges and adventures, I hope to explore the limits of my potential. I want to reach that peak together with you. The view from there will be something no one can show you but me. This sounds fun. I'll be with you wherever you go. Of course, it won't only be an adventure as a businessman. I'd like to create many things that only a couple can make. Scusate. And what could that be? Scusate. Let's have some kids. Shannon tanto la brava maid, ma yes, my husband. Madonna, proprio parte spedito, George. I like 3 of them at the least. At least 1 boy and 1 girl. And what if all 3 are boys? Shannon, calma, so dove vuoi arrivare. Qua stanno volando gli ormoni, altro che le farfalle dorate, eh. Then the next one. Lo sapevo. Qua è già tanto che non si stanno saltando addosso. We can make a 4th one. Doesn't matter how many. Let's enjoy the adventure of bringing them up together. And when those children eventually leave their nest, they'll make us some grandchildren. Sì, no, proprio frega un cazzo dei soldi. Before we know it, we'll reach a boisterous, come si pronuncia? Gambling edition anche nel diventare genitori, vero. Se ci pensi, a fare un figlio è un po' un gaccia. Before we know it, we'll reach a boisterous old age surrounded by many children and grandchildren. Scusate che sto interrompendo così tanto, ma però un po' meno. Sounds like fun. I wonder what kind of grandpa you'll be. I wonder what kind of grandma you'll be. However, I will always keep loving you. And when we eventually pass away, surrounded by our vast family, our lives will stretch behind us, unmatched by anyone else's. George didn't talk about his love in the present. He swore to love her soul until the final moments. When the lids of their coffins would be shut. E la Madonna! Un po' meno. Cioè, bellissimo, mi sto quasi commuovendo, per carità. Queste dichiarazioni di amore eterno. Però minchia, oh, un attimo. Con calma, George, con calma. Anche Shannon, abbassa gli ormoni, please. Then George took a small box out of his pocket. Even without opening it, she knew what was inside. He took it out in a motion that was more natural even than the one he had practiced in the bathroom at the airport, and it was overflowing with charm. Sayo. Sayo. Hi. Yes? Let's get married. Hi. Yes. Please, take this ring and put it on your finger. Hi. That ring, which glistened divinely even in the dim light of the arbor, passed from George's hand to Shannon's finger. Of course, Shannon had already decided which finger to put it on. I swear to resolutely stand against any fate which may attempt to get in the way of our future. George proclaimed that he would reveal their engagement to the entire family on the next day. My parents might criticize this marriage. However, I will not let them stop us. I am going to inform them of our engagement, not ask for their permission. If mother says that she will not allow our marriage, I plan to have myself disinherited and we will leave this family together. I have been prepared for that since long ago. I swear once again to resolutely stand against all fates that get in the way of our future. George has said it out loud, so Shannon said the same thing. Me too. I swear to stand against all fates that get in the way of our future. Farebbe molto ridere, Andrew. Ecco. Butler-san, when will the crime start? You have just about had enough of this love show. Be quiet and watch. Sure, fine. I hate to yawn and let some spectacular bit of foreshadowing slip by. Do you have no love? Are there any mysteries which accept love as proof? No, there aren't. Erika laughed coldly and stared down at the two on the game board. Butler watched her quietly. Erika thought she felt a touch of pity in his gaze, and she averted her eyes uncomfortably. I do understand, more or less. Love can at least become a motive for murder. I can interpret this scene beneath the arbor to represent a possible motive for the crime in their engagement. For the crime if their engagement is somehow impeded. Then again, no matter how much people talk of love with words that aren't in red, it's all just an illusion. That's very sad. You can't even love anyone without proof given to you by a witch. Please put an end to this frivolous romance talk. I am your enemy, not some eccentric friend of yours content to engage with some ramblings about love. I can't understand you at all anymore. What on earth did you figure out? Weren't you and Beato always insulting and trying to kill each other? What kind of truth could you have reached to make you change your emotions regarding her? Please don't tell me that the feelings of true love have sprouted from your murderous rivalry or something ridiculous like that. Lady Erika, let us have him continue the game's progression. Boring love scenes such as this are best finished quickly. You got a point there. Sorry for butting in. Come on, let's move on. Confermato. Ermicino, confermato. It's Shannon. I've come back. The log for today's hasn't been filled out yet. Yes, I'll do that right away. Canon-kun, thanks for keeping an eye out while I was gone. That was a pretty long break. Canon had already noticed. There was a silvery glint coming from the ring finger on Shannon's left hand. Then I will retire. Please do not hesitate to wake me if anything occurs. Good night, Genji-sama. Genji disappeared off to the waiting room. After that, only Shannon and Canon remained. Thanks for giving me some time. I'll be staying here, so you can take a break now if you want. In other words, it's my turn now. Yeah. Sorry, but we aren't going to lose. And I won't lose either. Even though you've always been a coward and let me lady take the lead until now. Wasn't it you who taught me, Nesan? What did I teach you? The past is immaterial when it comes to love. The present is all that's important. If that is true, then I think my present is in no way inferior to yours, Nessa. Shannon and Canon glared at each other with serious eyes. That period of tension vanished when Shannon chuckled. Yeah, that's good. You and me, lady, have to give it your all. If you do end up together, make sure you build up a relationship wonderful enough that we can cheer you on with all of our hearts. Well, you do have a huge lead on me. Nothing to be done about that. That's what you get for your cowardice before now. I know. That is my sin. Shannon and Canon fished around in their pockets and drew out two small things that glittered gold. They looked like the left and right wings of a gold butterfly. We are furniture. In order to become human and receive the miracle that allows us to love, we must rely on a miracle of magic once again. To think that her brooch would prove useful. It's the only magic within our reach. It was the golden butterfly brooch, which Beatrice had once given to Shannon in the hopes of creating love between her and George. Shannon had given it to Canon, but he had let this emotion get a hold of him and had crushed it into pieces. So when the two wings were brought together, it would regain the form of a beautiful butterfly. Then I'll be back soon. After all, they asked me to play cards with them. Yeah. Good luck. I'm sure Milady will be happy. It is a bit embarrassing. Enjoy it, that feeling. Canon left the servant room. He went to go see Jessica and tell her what he had determined to do. Shannon quietly watched him go. The fragment of the brooch and the engagement ring let off a gold and silver glint. Oh, that takes me back. That's something I gave Shannon, if I recall. I always wonder where that disappeared to after Canon stepped on it. But it seems they still had it all the time. That's the golden butterfly brooch, isn't it? I read about the magical brooch that can save a love relationship in Feathering Sun's book. And that had been the first moment that Beatrice, Witch of the Forest, had met a human and given them her power. Nuova informazione, non sapevamo che era la prima volta. Bit by bit, she had ascended from a mere ghost to the ruler of the mansion at night, and by making the servants believe in her, she had wiped away the anti-magic toxin. And then it eventually became possible for her to appear openly in front of Shannon, whose magic resistance had grown particularly low and who had begun to believe in the existence of Beatrice. To Beato, who had been unable to interact with anyone for many years, this conversation with Shannon must have been especially fun. That's why I generously gave her the butterfly brooch. I was in quite a good mood. It was no common thing for a heartless witch such as myself to be so gracious. But it's wonderful. You brought a pair of future lovers together. Of course, I did not do it to pamper them. It was in exchange for smashing that hateful spirit mirror that had repressed my magical powers. Thanks to that, I was able to regain much of my power all in one go. But then one night, purple lightning smashed the shrine. Those of the surrounding islands called it an evil omen. Oh, now that I think of it, that must have been a prelude to Beatrice-sama's resurrection. Kumasawa had the rest of the night off, so she had let Erika talk her into drinking a bit, and was chatting about the legend of Akujikijima and Beatrice in a happy, tipsy mood. Erika would nod from time to time, but she listened very closely. She wasn't actually taking notes, but she was gathering the information on the whiteboard inside her head. Then she frowned as though noticing something out of place and held up a hand. Wait a second. Yes? The shrine was built by a traveling mountaineering ascetic to seal up the evil spirits of Akujikijima. Isn't that right? Yes, that is correct. It was one who possessed a vast supernatural power and who placed that power within the mirror. And placed it within the shrine as a sacred mirror to seal the evil spirits. Something feels off about that. Why would a shrine to seal the evil spirits of Akujikijima also seal Beatrice? Well, that's because the power of the sacred mirror. I see. So it's this really convenient sacred mirror that works on both evil spirits from the east and witches from the west. Got it. I'm still not satisfied, but I'll back off there for now. What I don't understand is why Beatrice can't stand spiderwebs. According to the legend, the evil spirits of Akujikijima despised spiderwebs, so they were apparently used to ward against evil on the islands around here. Actually, spiders are a useful bug. The farmers on the islands may well have treasured them. It's very possible that the farmers called them wards against evil, tying them to the stories about evil spirits, in order to create a tradition of people treating this useful bug with care through the generations. But That's just the legend of Akujikijima. Origins of the legend of the witch Beatrice came from Ushiromiya Kinzo. It came after Ushiromiya Kinzo moved to this island. When rumors sprouted about the mysterious legend of the gold and his mistress who gave it to him as a witch. In other words, the evil spirits of Akujikijima and the golden witch Beatrice are completely different things. And yet, the same things are said about them. The evil spirits of Akujikijima couldn't stand spiderwebs, so neither could Beatrice. That sort of reasoning has been applied all over the place. When it was pointed out that this was strange, Kumasawa was lost for an answer. The doorknob to Kinzo-san's study has a scorpion magic circle drawn on it, which represents a charm against magic in Western sorcery. That's why the Western witch Beatrice can't touch it. I can understand that part. But there's no reason for Beatrice to dislike spiderwebs. I don't remember spiderwebs ever being included among the things Western witches can't stand. On the contrary, wouldn't spiders be friends and minions of a witch? In my opinion, these two legends about the evil spirits of Akujikijima and the witch Beatrice have become a little mixed together. In fact, maybe they've been fully joined together as one. The legend of Akujikijima is a fairy tale created by fishermen fearful of reefs in the Rokkenjima area. However, there were no visual image to go along with those evil spirits. Were they people or monsters or ghosts without legs? There's no mental picture of them. People are bad at imagining things without visuals. And then the legend of the witch called Beatrice came in. A witch is a lot easier to picture than evil spirits. On top of that, Kinzo had a portrait of Beatrice drawn and displayed. In other words, the lack of a visual image, which was the one weak point in the legend of Akujikijima, was finally completed. Perhaps the two legends became mixed together at some point after that. Well, I wonder. It is a bit confusing for an old lady such as myself. Kumasawa left to smooth it over, wiping away a cold sweat. She might have seemed confused, but she actually did understand what Erika was saying. In truth, she did have a rough understanding of how the legend of Akujikijima, which had been around before Ushiromiya Kinzo had come to Rokkenjima, and the legend of the witch, the story of the woman, who gave Kinzo a vast quantity of gold, had changed over time. She didn't want to admit it, but she knew. Beatrice's backstory, that she hated the spirit mirror and the spider webs, had actually been based on the ancient legend of Akujikijima. The evil spirits part of the legend that, had just been replaced by the witch of the portrait. So, if there really was someone claiming to be the Golden Witch Beatrice, I'd really like to ask her whether she actually does hate spiderwebs or not. What happens when she touches them? It is said that witches and their minions receive burns when they touch spiderwebs. So that is probably what will happen, I would say. That's not bad. A splendid witch trial. If the spiderweb touches her and she gets burned, then she's an evil spirit, not a witch. And if nothing happens, then it proves she's just a human. In other words, whether she's burned or not, it will prove that the Golden Witch doesn't exist. The legend of the witch is nothing more than a legend of Akujikijima reboiled with a new face on it. Well, all it takes is the presence of the legend, and a deduction like this becomes trivial for Furudo Erika. Your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen? Though only the two of them were in the lounge, Erika faced in a direction an invisible audience would have been, if there was one, and shrugged. And to match Erika's imagination, the two of them actually were there, listening in. Spider webs? They burn if you touch them? When Beato the Elder snapped her fingers, a graceful silver spider slipped down from the ceiling, hanging by a transparent thread. Afterwards, only a single silver strand. Timidly, Beato stretched her fingers out towards the spider string, and she touched it. I'm fine. You are? Beato the Elder lifted up a white, pale finger, and after showing it to her little sister, she traced the silver string with it. There was a stench like a single hair being burnt. Once again, she held the finger up in front of Beato, who was dumbfounded. There was a thin, burn line, as though someone had traced it across it with a razor. What does this mean? That's what I would like to know. Why are you... No, that's what I would like to know. Why are you unharmed? I don't know. What I don't understand is why you do get burned by touching a spider web. I do not know. It has always been like that since I first gained consciousness. Then, are you... Beato hesitated, however her question was clear. No, I am not one of the evil spirits of Akujiki-jima. I am Beatrice, ruler of Rockenjima's night. And even I do not why I have the same weaknesses as this island's evil spirits of old. Are spider webs the only things you can't handle? And as this Erika said, I can't touch the doorknob to Kinzo's study. That scorpion magic circle burns me. For me, trying to open the door to the study is like trying to pick a red-hot horseshoe out of a fire. What about you? Scorpion magic circles. Scorpion magic circles, you mean? The older sister snapped her fingers again. When she did, the surrounding scene bent and twisted, and they had suddenly moved to the place in front of Kinzo's study. And there was the doorknob engraved with the scorpion magic circle. Those who research sorcery must have a refuge sealed off from both humans and spiritual disturbances. It is no surprise that Kinzo chose to seal off his study and place a charm such as this here. And unfortunately, that affects me as well, as I will show you. She gently grasped the doorknob. As she did, a violent burning sound, unbelievably stronger than the one caused by the spider web, rang out. Onisama, are you okay? Your hand. Her hand had been horribly burnt, and Beato couldn't help but avert her eyes. Fear not. This scratch will heal quickly. Apparently, it would heal by itself if left alone. The older sister seemed to heal at an inhuman rate. However, it seems that you can handle it just fine. Go. She timidly poked the doorknob, and nothing happened. Slowly, she touched it with her entire palm, but she felt nothing but a pleasant, cool sensation. She gently grasped the doorknob. She felt nothing but a pleasant, cool sensation. She gently grasped the doorknob. She felt nothing but a pleasant, cool sensation. 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 She felt nothing but a pleasant Strange. Though you are my double, you are different from me in several ways. While I might be able to touch the doorknob, if I ever get burnt like you did, I don't think I would heal that easily. It's as though you are a normal human. Yes. Even I find it a little hard to believe that I'm a witch. And I can't use magic like you, and I can't get strange burns or heals from them later. Father believed that I was a great witch reborn, but I cannot believe that. Who are you? I am Beatrice. I was born for father's sake. And you, Onesama? Warawa. Mi piace troppo come dice Warawa. I am also Beatrice. I used magic to give Kinzo gold, and later became a soul and the formless witch that haunts this island. Just on Earth. Just who on earth are we? Unlike me, it seems that you possess a body. Huh? Really? Yes. It occurred to me while listening to that Erika person. I am a witch who can use magic but has no body. And you are a witch who has a body but can use no magic. Eventually, perhaps we will become one, each filling in what the other lacks, and becoming true, complete Beatrice. It did seem plausible. Both of the Beatrices were missing something. If they were to become one, then surely they would be very close to the Beatrice the butler desired. Do you want to try? Hold out your hand. The older sister slowly raised her palm and held it out before Beato. The large burn from a second ago really had started to heal already. It may be possible for us to become one. I want to know as well. By becoming one with you, I want to learn about my future self. Beato also raised her hand slowly, and the two hands touched. But nothing happened. Perhaps this meant that while they were fated to become one eventually, that time had yet not come. For me, being burned by spiderwebs is perfectly normal. However, you didn't even know about it. The same way, you say that the reason you were born was for your father's sake. Apparently that father is Ushiromiya Butler. I know him as a rare guest who comes only a few times a year, but I cannot understand what connection you and I have in with such an infrequent guest. Surely, we must learn more about each other. Yes, you're right. I get the feeling that learning about each other will lead us to something very important. On the other side lies a single future Beatrice. Though it may be more correct to say that the true form we are supposed No, it may be correct to say that that is the true form we are supposed to possess. With their hands still joined, the two Beatrices swore to fill in the part that the other lacked, and regain their single form. Bit by bit, Beato was walking down the path that led her to the former Beatrice. Bella canzone, molto rilassante questa. Si chiama Future, mi sembra. Ok, sono le 23. A magic of a different interpretation. The eerie sound of the wind and rain. Once again, I hazily regained consciousness on top of the bed. The finger that the witch had bitten off was still attached. E questo qua ritorniamo dalla visione di quello che abbiamo supposto essere Butler bloccato. It didn't say it was an illusion, just that it was still attached. After all, the pain and the teeth marks, as though a witch had bitten it, were still there. And yet, the window, which I had supposedly smashed, had been fixed, as though it had never been broken in the first place. È vero, Andrew. How can I escape this creepy room? Why am I locked up in this eerie room all alone? I want to get out. I have to get out. Let me out of here. The door was sealed with a firm chain. I could open it a crack, but only enough to peek out into the corridor at best. It would probably be hard even to get just a fist through it. The windows wouldn't budge either. They were no better than the barred prison windows. The bathroom didn't even have a window. The only thing that could get out through there was the water that flowed out, and if you turned on the tap. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't think of any other way out of here. Shut in here like this, I was no more or less than a prisoner. Unless someone came from outside to save me, I wouldn't be able to get out for all eternity. In that case, couldn't I just call for help? Yes, the tiny gap I could make in the door had to exist so I could call for help. But could I make the words come out? I had tried to call for help before, but for some reason the words couldn't escape my mouth. I might have made some kind of mistake. I might have just lost my voice in my haste and confusion. I cracked the door open once more. The warm light of the hallway flowed in, making the darkness of the room stand out all the more. Though I couldn't hear any voices, I did feel something peaceful. I was sure that everyone was in a room at the other end of the hallway, chatting happily about something. If I could just call out, someone would surely come to save me. Holding back some indescribable fear, I tried yelling once more. But the result was the same. It was like trying to yell underwater. All I did was get out of breath, unable to call out in the slightest. Even though I could say as much as I wanted, if I just grumbled to myself inside the room, whenever I tried to make my voice reach outside, I choked and was unable to say anything. I understood. My body wasn't the only thing imprisoned in this eerie, locked room. My voice was as well. Thinking that I could use some other kind of sound to call for help, I tried opening and closing the door violently, making the chain rattle. It did sound as though it was making a noisy clanking sound, but I was sure it was no good. Even this sound was imprisoned within the locked room. No matter how harsh a sound I made, I was certain it would be quieter than a leaf falling by the time it reached the other end of the corridor. I tried using the hateful chain that sealed the door to make a sound to call for someone, but that only deepened my despair. This chain? That's insane. Even though just a second ago it was a stiff chain that looked like it was used to seal a monster away, at some point he had transformed into a normal chain lock. This changes everything. Now I could just undo it from the inside. I tried to undo the chain, but I couldn't pull it off. The chain not being long enough for that, while the door was still open a crack. Of course. Calm down. I swallowed and I calmly closed the door. Then, when I saw that the chain had slackened enough, I touched it with my finger to make sure. When I was little, I hated chains because I could never get them undone right. However, this was a long time ago. I could unfasten them normally now. Anyone could. It was easy. Clink. That moment, that terrible thought that the demon who had locked me in this room might have been using this as a trap to give me hope and then make me despair even more, finally stopped haunting me. The chain lock unfastened and the chain dangled there right before my eyes. Now, there was no lock sealing this door. Please, don't torment me anymore and just open normally. Slowly, the door opened. I had closed the door in order to undo the chain, but the warm light from the hallway had been cut off. What if I opened it again and the warm light was gone this time? I was even afraid of that. However, that was just me over-imagining things, slowly expanding before my eyes. No, this is normal for a door. As the door let out an annoying creak, the exit from this cursed locked room finally opened. I did it! I did it! Even my cry of joy was strangled, but that didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was that I could get out. I poked my head out and looked left and right down the corridor, the warm corridor. I can sense people having fun at the other end. Everyone is right there. Let's go, right now. At that moment, something cold and heartless crushed my throat. It was as though an iron loop had been fastened around my neck and pulled on hard from behind. No, not as though. Without my knowing, at some point, a thick metal collar had been fastened around my neck. When this happened, when I turned around, I despaired even more. From the inner side of the door I had just opened, a thick chain extended, which was connected to my collar. I pulled on it, but it didn't even budge. When I shook it, the whole door creaked. What the hell? The chain that connected to my collar was attached to the inner side of the door. Yes, same heartless chain that had secured the door a short while back has suddenly become a chain holding me in place. That's insane, that's insane! Damn it, what's going on here? I pulled with all of my strength, trying to tear the whole door off, but I already knew from repeated experiments that it wouldn't even budge. I was sure this chain would disappear once I went back inside the room, but it would never let me leave it. Though it had appeared to revert to being a normal chain lock, nothing had actually changed. The fact that a chain lock bound me to that door was just as true now as ever. Tears flowing down my face, I pulled with all I had, and it was completely useless. No matter what I did, I'd never tear it loose. And I wasn't even permitted to call out for help. I felt a confused anger at how the demon had mercilessly made me think for just an instant that I'd escape. And no matter how much I yelled, no voice came out and no one on the other end of the corridor could hear me. Then I noticed an odd stain on the wall of the corridor. It wasn't a stain. They were letters traced out by a finger that had been covered in red paint. Huh? Those letters, which looked like they had been drawn in blood, answered my biggest question. The chain lock must be set. You may unset it, but it must be reset. Unless it is set, the exit of yours will be unusable. I instantly understood the meaning of that unsettling message. Then I tried it out and I understood completely. When I returned to the room and reset the chain lock, the binding around my neck disappears. When I undo the chain lock again, the heavy feeling around my neck returns. In other words, I cannot escape this room while the chain lock is still unset. But that means all I need to do is set the chain while outside the room. I undid the chain once more. The weighty collar and chain appeared around my neck again. I stepped out into the corridor and closed the door behind me, leaving only the slightest of cracks. I stuck my hand through the crack, grabbed the dangling chain and tried to reset it somehow. Damn it! It was so easy from the inside. So why is it so hard to do from the outside? The gap needed to be wide if I wanted to manipulate the chain well. However, that made the chain too short to reach. To bring the chain even close to reaching, I had to close the door as much as possible. But doing that meant that there wouldn't be enough of a gap for my hand in. È un paradosso. Of course, that was perfectly natural. Chain locks are made to be done from the inside. They'd be completely pointless if you could set it and unset it from the outside. That's why the length of a chain is specially chosen, to prevent anyone from setting or unsetting it from the outside. Maybe I could manage it with some kind of hard and thin tool. If the gap of the door was just a finger width across, the chain would have had enough length to reach. If I could just bend a wire hanger so that it fits through the crack, and work the chain with that. Okay, that's right. There's a closet just to the side of the door. Couldn't there be some hangers in there? Found one. Oh, thank God. A single cheap-looking hanger, like one that you might find in a laundry room, was hanging there. Really? I'm pretty sure that when I last looked a short while ago, nothing like this was in the closet. How cares? Quickly, quickly! I twisted the wire hanger, bending the end with the tip around. I formed a loop at the end and I formed a loop at the end to grab at things with, making for a sort of burglar's tool. Then I dashed out into the corridor again and closed the door almost as far as it would go. My wrist could never pass through this, but with the door closed this far, the chains should have enough length to spare, and this crack is large enough for me to stick the hanger through. Now it's just a matter of technique. I'll definitely be able to do it if I try enough times, I'm certain of it. It's harder than it looks, but the chain is long enough. It isn't impossible. I had finally gotten my hands on the one way to escape. It was hard, yes, but it was theoretically possible. If it was possible, then I would be able to get out. I would be able to escape from here. Sono Bern e Lambda, ho sentito due voci. At that moment, I felt a heavy weight on the far side of the door. I felt as though someone inside the room had leaned against the door with their forehead, and she, the witch, had left. Then I felt a powerful and strange force on the wire hanger. Is it trying to grab it away from me? Yeah, right, like hell I let go. Like hell I let my one key out of here get stolen while my guard's down. Fortunately, I'd stuck my wrist through so that I wouldn't drop it if my hand got tired. You won't be able to snatch this out of my hands. Mi sembrano Lambda e Bern. Bern sopra e sottofondo Lambda, però non può darsi che siano solo voci modificate. The witch on the other side of the door watched me and laughed once more. Then I noticed something weird. I looked at my left hand, which I had pressed against the door to hold it in place, and between the fingers of that hand, I could see something red. It was red text. I realized it immediately. At some point in time, even more bloody letters had been written on the door, and my left hand had been covering them up. Still fighting against the vice-like strength of the witch beyond the door, I moved my left hand to the side. Where that hand had been, bloody letters had indeed been written. It read, as though someone had predicted that I'd struggle this way from the very beginning, a message directly from the witch to me. No matter the method, it is impossible to set or unset the chain lock from the outside. All tricks done from the corridor had been sealed by red letters. No way. There was suddenly a terrible sound, and the force I had been pulling on the hanger was finally released. And when I looked at the hanger that was finally free, I lost all hope. As though he had been hit with the acid of the room darkness, the tip of the hanger had burned and bubbled and melted away. Now it was pitifully short. It couldn't be used for anything. It would be useless to search for a substitute. All schemes to fasten the chain from the outside had been sealed. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it! I threw the remnants of the white wire hanger against the floor, faced the hallway with a warm light, and called for help. However, I just choked, unable to speak at all. Everyone's just down the corridor, and everyone is peaceful there. I can't hear the voices, but I'm sure they're all having a good time playing cards. Please, someone notice me. Someone save me. Sì che è sì che è Bern. L'altra voce sotto potrebbe essere sempre Bern, ma modificata, tipo con un po' di ritardo, di delay e alzata di tono. Però è decisamente Bern, l'ho sentita ridere abbastanza volte da capire la risata. Yeah! C'è anche Butler però stavolta. This time it wasn't the witch's voice. It was the happy voices of everyone else, which I could hear from the other end of the hallway. Someone come here and save me! Vabbè, ha spiegato che ok, erano per le risate dall'altra parte, ok. Sembrava vero, hai ragione Andrea. Allora, vabbè, qua l'ho spiegato, sono i ragazzi che si divertono. Allora è possibile che non fosse Butler? Sorry, but I'm out. George slammed his last card down, ending the game with his victory once again. Everyone gasped in unison. The cousins finally... Dove c'è scritto finally? Dimmi dove cazzo hai detto finally. The cousins' room was filled with laughter as they enjoyed their card game. So you really did have it, George Aniki. Damn you. Damn you, Six of Spades. Che stiamo giocando. Your Eighth of Diamonds was pretty nasty too. I was so close. You're incredible, George Onichan. You won again. Ma cosa stavano giocando? Tipo a 7 bello? A scopa stavano giocando. Yeah, looks like we've won again. Ah, ha fatto squadra loro due, ok. Maria couldn't really hold her own in an all-out battle, so she teamed up with George, which was why she was celebrating his victory. Buona idea. Oh no. Utter defeat. Canon winced and let his card drop to the table. The game of 7. Stiamo giocando a 7 per davvero. Sto giocando a 7 bello per davvero. Stavo scherzando. The game of 7s that Canon and the cousin had been playing had been a fierce battle. Normally, they would take things easy since Maria was there, but this sort of game was rare. Canon had started taking the game seriously, unwilling to lose, so George and Butler had responded and the battle had grown fierce. Unlike Butler, who was carefree enough to enjoy it whether he won or lost, Canon's mood changed drastically with every victory and defeat. It was less of a dislike for losing and more that he just wasn't used to playing games. He wasn't used to the idea that you win some, you lose some. So even a loss in a game played for fun was something he took very seriously. Since he had resolved to win and had unfortunately challenged the veteran players George and Butler, the result was plain to see. As Canon slumped his shoulders, Jessica slapped him on the back. Hey, you almost had it. But man, I love this stuff. Fighting all out. Whether I go all out or not, it's all meaningless if I lose in the end. Are you kidding me? If you really give it your all, you can feel good about yourself even if you lose. If you lose after hardly trying, then you feel like grumbling and complaining about how you would have won if you had taken it seriously, right? That's right. People who really give it their all never complain. Those guys are always cheery no matter the result. That's right. All those people are scarier than anyone else. They always learn something from their experience and grow. Very true. I was a coward, so I could never learn anything. So even now I am yet to mature. I am furniture, so it is useless to dream. Because he had rigidly believed that, he had distanced himself from everything and shut himself away. However, during that time, Shannon had undergone many life adventures, and now her hand rested on the door separating furniture and humans. The old Canon would only have seen this card game as a way to pass the time. However, the new Canon was now capable of gaining something new from this experience that could probably be called growth. Furniture does nothing but rot with the passage of time. Being able to grow is a privilege given only to humans. Thanks for playing with us. You probably had work to do, like filling in the log, right? Seriously, thanks for going along with us. No. Nothing at all. No, not at all. I have fun. Or perhaps I should say, I now understand why doing things like this is fun. Thank you very much for forcing me to come. Let's challenge ourselves more and more. Let's go and find more and more things you didn't know about. So, about what we were talking about. You wanna try like guitar? I mean, it's not like you have to or anything, but it must be very difficult. Yeah, I guess. But I'll do a good job teaching you, and I'll even practice with you. Well, I guess I'm not that much of an expert myself. At first, Canon was scared of touching a musical instrument for the first time in his life, certain he would make a complete fool of himself. He knew that screwing up like that would make him feel bad. However, Canon was starting to learn. It's only natural that I'll be bad when I first start. If I just try to run away from that, I'll never learn a thing for all eternity. I'll never achieve anything. Yeah. Isn't that why people love it when they feel themselves improving? Even I started making my left and right hand moves at the same time when I first started. But I slowly got the knack of it, and I started to feel more and more, and it started to feel more and more natural. I'd like to reach that level too. If one path to that goal is playing music with you, lady, I would love to do that with you. Really? Yes. I'm sure I'll be horrible when I start, and it might even make you lose hope in me at times. But if I've given it my all, I can take failure in my stride. That's what I learned from you all just now. You're embarrassing me. Now, I love you even more, milady. Ma la vuoi uccidere, Canon? Because I averted my eyes for so long, even though you shone like the sun. I never noticed you when you were right next to me. Then I'd better work even harder to make you love to make you love me even more. Sì, fra poco esplode Jessica, poverina. Canon's serious and competitive words were more than enough to make Jessica shy. However, Canon's expression unexpectedly clouded. Milady, the reason I love you is so clear. That's why I can't bear not knowing. Not knowing what? Why would you start to like me? Unlike you, I do not shine in any sense. Even now, I'm just clinging to your back as you shine away. I can't think of any reason why you would like a wretch like me. That's not true, okay? There are all kinds of good things about you, Canon-kun. Let me swallow my pride and ask. What about you made you like me? What about me made you like me, milady? Canon hung his head. He had never learned anything, and he had never been able to take the lead with her. It made him sad and frustrated that he had always been the one-sided recipient of her affection, and could do nothing but respond to it. Jessica was at a loss for words. After all, compared to the reason that Canon had fallen for Jessica, Jessica's reason was a lot more vague. She had listened to Shannon talk about her love with George, and at school she and her friends had always talked about relationships with boys. There was nothing strange about a girl fascinated by the idea of romance developing an interest in a nearby member of the opposite sex. However, if she were to put it into that words, she would be misinterpreted as saying that any nearby boy would have done just as well. However, if nothing else, she knew that what she felt at this moment. She really did love Canon, and she truly wanted a relationship with him. They might end up together as a result, or they might not. But whatever the outcome, she could accept it as long as she held nothing back. That allowed her to stay true to her feelings and what she knew she felt right now, and act on them seriously. However, she couldn't find the right words to tell Canon this. When Canon saw Jessica bite her lower lip in frustration, he finally realized, I'm such a fool. What about me do you like? That very question is foolish. It's proof that I am not serious about myself and that I haven't been able to understand myself. It's horrible of me to try and make you say it for me. That's not true. After all, it's the first question any girl would like to ask after being given a love confession. The question, what part of me do you like? It was immature of me to ask you that. How could anyone like someone so immature? Wait, that's not... Jessica panicked, trying desperately to explain how she felt. However, Canon remained calm, and then he spoke. In that case, I want you to grow to love me the way I already love you. I've decided to change myself so that can happen. I can't possibly hope for you to love me the way I am. But someday, no matter what, I'm absolutely sure you'll become a wonderful person, Canon-kun. A guy so cool that I can't keep my eyes off you. Until then, I'll stick by you all the way. We have all the time in the world. Non proprio, mi spiace Jessica. Sono le 23, vero, no? Sono le 23 del 4 ottobre. Appunto. Unfortunately, there isn't that much time left. What about time? When I talk about furniture, it usually saddens you. But this is something I must talk to you about. And it is also something I must fight for all my soul, with all of my soul. What are you talking about? I don't want to hear any more of that I'm furniture, so I can't fall in love talk. You are human, not furniture. I understand. That's why I intend to become human. But at the moment, I am furniture. Then just do it then, become human. The witch taught me once a single element of this world. She said it was love. It was something that humans born into this world can take for granted. However, it is not something that those not from this world who were born as furniture can take for granted. In order to gain it for themselves, they must have magic or a miracle. In the same way that Ne-san and George-sama would have ended up as they have without borrowing the power of the golden butterfly brooch. I really don't get this part. What is it that you do not understand? Let me hear it. Since this game began, a large portion of the time has been spent on Shannon and Canon's determination to fall in love. I have no problem with interpreting that as a story of growth and teenage determination for a girl and a boy who call themselves furniture. However, one of the assumptions they make feels really out of place to me. Why magic is necessary? Is that it? Both Shannon and Canon, I'll purposely refer to them as furniture. The furniture had always claimed that there cannot be love between furniture and humans. That's where the magic of the golden butterfly brooch came into play. It was the miraculous result of that magic that love was established between Shannon and George Oni-chan. That's what they claim. Surely it would not be a stretch if they thought that forbidden love across class boundaries could never bear fruit without a miracle of magic. No, I agree. Shannon and Canon are both servants in love with members of the Ushiromiya family. So it makes perfect sense to me that they might disparage themselves as furniture while suffering from their forbidden love. then what is it that does not make sense to you? Without the power of magic once more, marriage will be impossible. Shannon and Canon both seem to share that view. That's the part I just can't understand. After meeting in secret for quite some time, George and Shannon had finally gotten engaged. Both were fully prepared for it emotionally, and though there would be some trouble with the relatives, he had gotten to the point where it would probably be impossible for anyone to prevent their marriage. Trying to stand between two who wish to be wed is as foolish and as standing in the path of an arrow in flight and trying to catch it. Exactly. George Onichan had sworn to protect his partner for the rest of their lives and no longer fears opposition or disinheritance from his parents. On the contrary, he even considers them to be the perfect test to demonstrate his love for her. In other words, they will be married no matter what. No one can stop them. And they have both consented to the engagement. No one can stop them or impede them. Trying to break apart lovers is a foolhardy venture. Yeah. And that's what's strange. There's no need for magic. If George and Shannon had wanted Eva's approval for their engagement, then magic really might have been necessary. After all, Eva had forbidden his relationship with her. No matter how much George spoke on Shannon's behalf, the chances of Eva being convinced were virtually zero. If that were the case, it would be understandable if they wanted a magical miracle to make Eva acknowledge their engagement. But George Onichan had already sworn to it. He doesn't care whether his parents approve of the engagement or not. Yeah, there's nothing standing in the way of their engagement. And Shannon would know that well herself. So why is it that now, on this night where the proposal went smoothly, she's still praying for a miracle of magic? Without such a miracle, she will not have the right to marry, is what the furniture claims. And there you go. It means that Shannon has accepted Joe's proposal, but she knows that there's still some kind of obstacle remaining that can be overcome without a magical miracle. And that obstacle isn't something that they can overcome with their own efforts. That's why they need this miracle called magic. Why do they need magic? If two people love each other, what other miracle could they need to be together? I see. Featherin listened to Enge's interpretation, smiling in a satisfied way. Apparently, she had already reached that conclusion and was enjoying watching Enge finally manage to do the same. And the same question applies to Canon as well. The love between him and Jessica Nechan had just begun, but their emotions are pure. There's nothing standing in the way. They're already in a loving relationship even without the golden butterfly brooch. It'd be no surprise if the relationship they started lasted for years and eventually results in marriage. There's nothing standing in their way either. As long as they do not seek the approval from Kraus and Natsui, it seems that they will not need a magic miracle either. Exactly. Canon watched how Shannon lived and changed his own way of life. Then he let his true feelings be known and started a relationship with Jessica Nechan. There's no need for magic anymore. If it were a one-sided love, then he might need a love charm or something, but their feelings are already mutual. They've already communicated their intention to one another, so why do they need a miracle on top of that? È una domanda interessante. Both pieces of furniture are in a relationship of mutual love. There shouldn't be any need for a miracle any longer. So why do they still desire a miracle of magic? And on top of that, the single brooch is portrayed as bestowing only a single miracle. It feels almost as though Shannon is hesitating because if she uses up that miracle for herself, canon chances of love will be automatically sealed away for eternity.
つまりこういうことよ。
So the question is this:
どうして家具は恋を
why
してはいけ
is
ないの？
furniture not allowed to love? Questa è una domanda che veramente, se danno una risposta, sarebbe bomba. Perché da episodio 1 che Shannon e Canon si chiamano furniture e non abbiamo ancora capito perché, effettivamente.
魔法という奇跡なくして
So,
は
you ask why love is not permitted without the miracle known as magic.
そして
And also,
堅くなに恋がで
there's
きない
that
と嘆い
golden,
ていた家具たちも
golden
それを許
fly,
すことのできる
golden butterfly
黄金蝶に
brooch that can allow the lamenting furniture to have the love they insisted they were incapable of.
一体何だっていうの？
Just what on earth is that?
もちろん魔
Of
法の
course,
結
it
晶
is
であ
a
る。
crystallization of
ただし
magic.
多くの
However,
魔法と
like
同様
most
に
magics,
半魔法
it
の
can be
毒素で
burned
赤
by
いも
the
す。
anti-magic toxin.
つまり魔女や魔法を信じる者に
So
しか
it can only have an
効果が
effect
ない
for
という
those
こ
who
となんです
believe in
ね。
magic and witches.
その通りだ。
Correct.
よって
So Shannon, who was capable of interacting with me, was able to make use of its
し
benefits.
かしもし
However, Shannon had
シャノンが
dropped it in a
その
sandy
ブローチを
beach
砂浜
and
に落とし
someone who knew
何
nothing
も知らぬ
picked
者
it
が
up.
拾ったとしたらその者が
If
半魔
that
法の
person
毒を
was
まとっていた
shrouded
ら
in the anti-magic
ブローチ
toxin,
の魔法
they
は
wouldn't be
力を
able to
発揮
make
できない
use of the brooch's magical power.
そういうことだ。
Precisely.
魔女のアイテム
A
は
witch's magical
直接
item
の
often
手渡しで
lose
なけれ
their
ば
power if they are not
力を
handed
失う
over
ことが多いと
directly.
いうことだ。しかし
However, in just the same way that a witch can manifest herself if her existence is acknowledged by a great many humans and the anti-magic toxin disappears, the power of that magical item can also be preserved if it is believed by a great many people.
皮肉な話で
That's
すね。
ironic.
私たち魔女が
No
どんな
matter
魔法
what
を
kind of
授けても
magic we witches give out,
それを受け取れるか
everything
どうかは
depends on
全て
whether the human we give it to can accept it.
薬もそうだと
I have heard that I have heard that the same goes for
同じ
medicine.
薬を飲んで
Even with the exact same medicine, humans who know of the medicine's effects experience it to a greater degree.
ちょっとわかります。
Oh, I think I
風
understand.
邪薬とか飲ん
When
で
taking cold
薬効の
medicine,
解説書とか読んでる
I've
と
gotten the feeling that it's more effective when you read the prescription on the bottle. As she listened, Beato thought that magic sounded a bit like a charm. When most humans think of magic, they think of incredible miracles being performed one after another in front of a crowd. However, this true magic that the older sister spoke of sounded almost like a charm, something that had no effect if the person using it didn't believe. Shannon's heart was captured by George's bit by bit, and he grew by leaps and bounds. However, she had given up, thinking that of the lower status. Scusate un attimo. However, she had given up, thinking that one of lower status such as herself would never find love with him. That was when Beatrice had given her the golden butterfly brooch and encouraged her. Giving up means that you have reached... reached non c'è da nessuna parte. Mi invento le parole. Giving up means that you have zero chances of success. But if, with the power of magic, you think there might just be some chance of your wish coming true, the probability then rises to something greater than zero, at the very least. Zero remains zero forever, but even if a faint probability were to exist, it would be no exaggeration to say that an impossible miracle had occurred compared to the time when the probability was zero. Humans can use the magic to take... The magic non c'è neanche. Repetition request, non sono dislessico. Come si dice? I refuse. Humans can use magic to take resignation, by which they themselves make the probability of success zero, and cancel it out. Adesso ha senso. When a human does not give up, Though their chances of success may be small, those chances do exist. And the stronger their belief, the more those odds are. It was easy to imagine that Shannon had made earnest wishes upon the brooch, believed in its effect, and made little efforts to get George to like her. The power of belief becomes magic. And those who make others believe are witches. That's an interesting way to put it. If you think about it, it's true. Let's say a witch steps out into a spotlight, waves her staff in front of a crowd of onlookers, and makes a rabbit appear out of thin air. The many people who see it will surely think that it was a sleight of hand. They might wonder how it was accomplished, but they would be sure that it wasn't magic, and they would applaud the splendid trick that had appeared to be magic. But what if they conducted a sacred ceremony inside a great ancient temple in front of a crowd of believers, culminating in the exact same thing? Would any of the people there think that was a sleight of hand? In fact, in the ancient past, when magic tricks as a form of entertainment didn't even exist and divine spirits were worshipped, this would doubtlessly have been a miracle of magic. In that case, would this count as magic? Huh? Will the witch who cannot use magic now perform it for the first time? Here I have an empty cup. There is nothing inside it. It is empty. Go on. I will take this cup and turn it like this, and place it upside down on the table. And then, what's next? Let's both close our eyes and chant the incantation. It was the same magic that had been used to give Maria candies. Beato the Elder grinned and closed her eyes. When she saw this, Beato slowly chanted the incantation. Come try to remember. What was inside the cup? Try to remember what was inside the cup. As she chanted, Beato slowly opened her eyes and made sure that the older sister was repeating her with her eyes closed. Then a single gold butterfly appeared out of nowhere, fluttered down into the overturned cup and scattered away in a spray of gold. May I open my eyes now? Yes. Please open your eyes and inspect the contents of the cup. Well now, let's see how well your first bit of magic has worked. Taking her time and dragging out the suspense a little, the older sister lifted up the cup. Huh? How is it? When the cup was lifted up, there lay a single golden rose petal. Does this count as magic? Yes, it most certainly does. Io però piango se fai così, Beato. Non puoi usare la golden truth così per dire una cosa così romantica. Io piango, porca puttana. You use magic to create a golden flower petal inside an overturned cup. It was a splendid bit of magic. Without love, it cannot be seen. How much I understand. It may be viewed as a trick. It may be believed to be magic. It all depends upon the toxin of the individual. Then again, while this can explain some of the magic that's being used in the past, it can't explain everything. To get back to the point, none of this stuff about believing in magic and charms can answer the question. What is the... To get back to the point, none of this stuff about believing in magic and charms can answer the question, what is the golden butterfly brooch that can allow the lamenting furniture to have the love they insisted they were incapable of? It's not enough for an answer. To take what we have heard from the two Beatos at face value, would it not make sense to consider that magic has the power to cancel out the furniture resignation? Why mustn't furniture fall in love? Why is the power of the magic brooch necessary? Yes, it does seem at a glance as though what you and the Beatos are saying provides an answer, though a vague one. However, let me say this as a reader. I can't accept this as you presented it. You cannot accept it, you say? The fate that those pieces of furniture were fighting to overturn was something much more immense than this would allow for. I doubt they could reform their way of thinking just because they were given a charm for making relationships. It's true that the brooch gave Shannon the chance she needed to get together with George Nichan, but after that she said she wanted to deepen their relationship without borrowing the power of magic, and she even tried to give the brooch back to Beato. She put the miracle of magic behind her at that point. In that case, why is she once again in need of its power? Well now, perhaps there is no way to say it except that love and marriage are very different things. Featherin laughed lightly. She had probably formed a theory of her own and was laughing at ENG who hadn't reached it yet. Let me hear it. What's your view? I'd like to keep that for myself for just a while longer. And of course, watching you form doubts and let your mind race is one of the joys of being read aloud too. If I gave you my view, you would accept them and stop thinking. Then having you read aloud would not be so fun. So you're having me read a mystery novel you already know the answer to, just so that you can enjoy me blunder about. Well, I am that witch of theater going. If you wish to laugh at my bad taste, please do not hold back, my amico. I understand that a part of magic is created by a believing heart, and that magic probably permeates deep into the world of us humans as well. However, though it does permeate so far, the power that dwells within magic is small. Visiting a shrine before an important exam to pray that you will pass is something that many people do. However, not many people will actually credit that visit as the reason for their success. Praying like this contains no power except as a calming influence. In love, where even a small chance and a little bit of courage can cause a major change, this power might cause a massive upheaval. However, would the insurmountable fate that those pieces of furniture claim to be in the middle of really change because of something like that? I think that in the past, the magical power of the brooch as it joined Shannon and George was little more than a good luck charm. However, at this point, the magical power that the pieces of furniture are seeking from the brooch, praying for the love to succeed, is not something as vague as a charm. It feels much stronger. It's a whole different interpretation of magic. If you believe in a sleight of hand, it becomes... Vabbè, qua lo dice direttamente, vabbè. If you believe in a sleight of hand, it becomes magic. But that's no more than a child's trick. And that only explains one part of magic. They are hoping for something. They are hoping for something with much, much more power. For true magic, not a sleight of hand.
家具たちは
So then, just
黄
what
金町の
kind of
ベンチに
magic
どん
are
な
the,
ことを期待して
are
いる
the
の
pieces of furniture expecting from that brooch? Sono curioso anche io, onestamente. Questa cosa non me la ricordo.
黄金町のブローチ
Golden butterfly brooch?
黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ
The golden witch Beatrice gave a magic charm to Shannon in exchange for
恋を成就する
smashing a mirror,
魔法のお守り
a charm that makes love succeed.
これだ
That's what it is. From his pocket, Cannon pulled a wing of a gold butterfly. Though it was just a single wing, it was easy to tell from its distinctive shape that he had originally been part of something with a butterfly motif.
このブローチの魔法は
The power of this brooch gave Shannon the chance she needed to start a relationship with
し
George-sama.
かし
However,
それを
before
最後
that
に
magic was
成就する前に
truly realized,
僕に
she
譲りまし
left it to me.
ただから僕はこの
So
ブローチ
thanks to
の
the
力
power of this
お嬢
brooch,
様の好意を
I
得ました
gained your affection, lady.
そんなわけないよ
That's not true.
私がカノン君を
I
好きになった
started
のは
liking you because of my
自分の
own
素直な
honest
気持ちだぜ
feelings.
ありがとうございます
Thank you very
お
much.
嬢様は人
You
間
are
だから
human, so you do
魔
not
女の
believe
魔
in
法を信
witches
じたり
or
無
magic.
理もないことです
It's only natural.
しかし
However, as
魔法で
furniture
生み出された
created by magic, my very
僕がここに
existence
存在する魔
here
法の奇跡の
is
存在
proof
する
that
証拠な
miracle
んで
of
す
magic exists.
ごめん
Sorry,
何の
what
話
are you talking about? Jessica tried her hardest to grasp at what Canon was trying to say. However, she couldn't understand it and had to ask him to repeat it with a bitter smile.
僕もシャノンも
Both Shannon and I
恋を成就させるには
need magic
魔法が
to
必要なの
succeed
で
in
す
love.
そのための鍵が
The key for that is this
僕
brooch.
が踏んで割ったので
I stepped on it and crushed it, so we each have one part. The brooch had lost its power when it was split in half. However, if it were to be ever joined together again, its magic would be revived. It would revive the miraculous power that could join furniture and a human together.
しかし
However,
一つのブ
a
ローチ
single
は
brooch can only
一人の
grant
願いしか
one
叶えない
person's wish.
家具の僕たちは
Only one of us
この一つの
furniture
ブロー
can
チ
be
によって
joined by this single
どっち
brooch. It was the single spark of love that the old Beatrice with her shrill laugh had sown on that day long ago. That Beatrice had likened humans who were tormented by this spark to ripe fruit that taken evil pleasure in their suffering. However, the magic infused within this spark was real. It was only the crystallization of magic that the Golden Witch Beatrice ever left. It was the only crystallization of magic that the Golden Witch Beatrice ever left in this world. Its shine grew brighter. What the?
大丈夫です
It's okay.
直
But
接
please
お見ない
don't look right at
目
it.
をやられます
It'll blind you. It grew brilliant still, shining like the sun. Jessica didn't need Canon to tell her to put her hands over her eyes. As the light grew stronger, a sound like the roaring of the wind and the tide also grew in intensity. It already drowned out the sound of the wind and the rain outside. Jessica could no longer even stand and she crouched on the floor. It was a flood of sound and light. Until it withdrew, Jessica could do nothing but moan. O meno. È la Madonna, e finisce così. Ma dai, man, Blue Balling of the Golden Witch, che cazzo? Io volevo sapere dove vanno, che sta succedendo. Oh, sì! Ti prego, ti prego. Ok, no, niente.
Sa, sa, sa. 今は大丈夫ですよ。
It's okay now, let's hurry.
お父様が
I hope
甘い
father
ものをお
likes
好き
sweet
だといい
foods.
のですが
Oh, yes, he does like them. In fact, he seems to enjoy eating pretty much anything. After waiting for the master of the study to be out, Beato and Kumasawa entered the study. Then they quickly tied away the books on the desk, set down the basket they had brought there, and began spreading out the contents. Inside were several cute cookies cut out in butterfly shape. They set out a cute plate and neatly decorated it with cookies. It was the kind of slight adornment that the person eating wasn't likely to even notice. The whole setup was filled with that sort of feeling.
愛しのお父様
You
とな
spare
られた
no
上に
efforts for the sake of your beloved father.
今の私に許されてい
This
る
is all I'm permitted to do right now.
ことはわらわがバトラ
I
ー
think I would give... To think that I would give butter
なぜに
cookies.
夜の支配
Why
者で
should
あ
I,
る
the
わらわ
ruler of the night, do so much for a guest who comes so rarely?
わからぬ
Then the study door swung violently open. It was Butler, with Genji by his side, di nuovo con Rose. Butler's eyes went wide for a second when he saw Beato there, but his expression quickly went blank again.
ここで何をしている？
What are you doing here?
お父様
Father, please excuse me.
決して
I didn't come here to get in the way of your important game.
どうしてここに入れた？
How were you able to get in
ここ
here?
には鍵がかかってい
Wasn't
た。
this room locked?
申し訳ございませ
My
ん。
apologies.
親方様に
I lent them a
内密
key
で差し入れを
because they
お届
wish
け
to
したいということで
surprise you with a gift.
ほら、
See,
見てあげてく
have
だ
a
さい
look.
ませ。親方様に
Beatrice
喜ん
sama
でもら
baked
う
these
と
cookies with all of her soul, hoping that you would enjoy them.
熊沢さんと源氏さん
Kumasawa-san and Genji-san taught me.
源氏さんがクッ
I
キーを
never
焼くの
knew
がお上手だった
Genji-san
ん
was
です
such a good, was so good, she was so
とても驚きました。
good at baking cookies. Vabbè, Ronove li sa cucinare molto bene, quindi giustamente è giusto che di partenza anche Genji lo sappia fare.
最近は全
He
然
hasn't done it much of late, but Genji-san used to cook many things long
お
ago.
料理を作ってくれたんですよ。特
He
に
was especially good with
お上手
sweets.
で。
クッキー。
Cookies?
はい
Yes,
お父様への差
it
し入れで
is
す
a gift for you, father.
大切なゲームの
I
決勝を
sincerely pray for your victory in
心よ
this
りお
important
祈りいた
match.
しております
Butler looked at the plate on the study desk that was piled up with beautiful cookies and the message cards of encouragement and the message card of encouragement lying next to it. And his face twisted with a complex expression which might have traces of both sadness and anger contained within it. Dai, ma poverina, ma sta facendo del suo meglio, capisco. Ok, Butler, tu sei innamorato della Beatrice, quella che conosci te. Ok, ma poverina, cazzo, sta facendo veramente del suo meglio. Puoi dire, ok, non chiamarmi padre, per favore. That's not my thing, ok? I'm not into that. Non chiamarmi padre. Tu non sei Beatrice, ok? Ma non devi sputare in faccia tutto quello che fa lei, ok? Non devi poverina, sta veramente facendo il suo meglio. Lasciala fare. Sta cercando di capire come tornare la Beatrice che conoscevi tu. Ma poverina. Adesso se lui prende tipo il piatto e lo lancia via, qualcosa del genere, io entro dentro la visual novel e ti tiro 2 schiaffi, Butler. Porca troia. Oh.
親方様。
My lord. In not so many words, Genji prompted him to consider giving Beato's efforts some kind of acknowledgement. Butler understood, but had no reason to respond to this kindness. No, he had no reason to respond to this kindness with displeasure. However, even though he understood that logically, all he could do was give a small, exasperated sigh.
ありがとう。感謝する。
Thank you. I'm very grateful.
だが甘いものは苦手だ。
I don't like sweets.
下げてくれ。
Please take it away.
親方様。
My lord.
同じことをもう
Don't
一度
make
言
me
わ
say
せ
the
て。
same thing again.
片付けて下がって
Please clean it up and take it away.
親方様。
My lord,
せめて
couldn't
一
you
口
just
お口
try
に
one
運ばれ
bite?
るわけには参りませんか。
Beatrice-sama worked hard to make them for your sake.
気持ちはありがたく受け
I'm
取っておる
grateful for the
今は
sentiment,
大切なゲームの
but
最
I
中
am in the middle of a very important game right now.
俺にとっても
Important to
ベ
both
アトに
me
とっても
and
大
Beato.
切な最後のゲー
And
ム
it
なん
will be our last.
だだから頼む
So please,
俺の心をかき乱
try
すような
not to
真似は
trouble me any more than necessary.
それはあまりに
That's
も
just
ひど
too
うございま
sad
す
for her.
気持ちは
I'm
感
glad
謝
you're grateful
大い
for
に
her
結構です
feelings,
しかし
but can't you
それ
just
を
show
せめ
it
て
by
一つ
taking just
お
one
召し
little
になる
bite?
形ではお示しできませんか
Brava Kumasawa che stai dicendo quello che diciamo noi.
お父様
Father. Beato looked at Butler sadly. Butler hung his head and avoided her gaze. The expression on his face was more pain than any he had shown Beato before.
熊沢
Kumasawa
それを片付け
cleaned this
下が
up
る
and take it away.
親方様
My lord. Kumasawa implored Butler to listen, but he turned his back to her.
失礼
My
しました
apologies. Let's clean this up, Kumasawa-san.
そういうわけには参り
I
ません
won't allow it.
大切なゲ
By
ーム
making this gift, Beatrice-sama gave it her all and to try and support you in your important game in the only way she could.
それ
To tell her to take it away without eating a bite yourself. How can you trifle with a woman so?
熊沢
Kumasawa.
親方様も男だ
If you call yourself a man, you should at least try a bite when a woman makes you a handsome snack.
結構でございますので
Handmade
お
snack.
手をつけてくださいまし女の気持
If
ち
you
を
truly
踏みに
intend to
じろうと
trample on
いう
this
おつもり
woman's
でしたら
feelings, I promise you
殺
this.
されたって
I
ここ
will
は
not
行きませ
back
ん
down, even if it kills me.
ええ
No, I
行きません
won't.
熊沢さんもう
Kumasawa-san, you've done enough for me already.
そういうわけには
I
参り
won't
ませ
allow
ん
it.
親方様
My lord, do you
これ
think
に
there
毒
might
で
be
も入って
poison
いると
inside
お思
them?
いですか
Yeah, if Beato ever came to give me a if Beato ever gave me if Beato ever came to give me cookies, of course I think she put some kind of crazy poison in them. She asked me if I thought there'd be poison in these. How could anyone ever think that cookies like these, piled up in such a neat and cute way, could possibly have something bizarre hidden inside? And who could possibly believe that Beato would make something like this? Because of that, Butler couldn't bear to look at Beato's innocent reaction, which was completely free from any malicious thoughts of slipping poison into the cookies. Beato quickly started to clean up. Every now and then she sniffled. Kumasawa had been glaring at Butler continuously, but she now gave a small sigh and helped Beato clean up. However, the hardness didn't disappear from her expression.
失礼しました
My apologies,
そ
father.
れでは
Please excuse
失礼
me.
いたします
呼ぶな
Don't call me that.
俺をお父様と呼ぶな
Don't call me
ベ
father.
アトは
Beato never once
その
called
呼
me
び
that.
方をしたことは
Yes, as you wish.
失礼い
My
たしました
apologies. Hanging her head so low that her chin touched their chest, Beato hurried out of the study. After giving Butler a look, Kumasawa chased after her. She shut the door a bit violently, and the footsteps of the pair rapidly disappeared off into the distance. I may be his little sister, but I'm not sure how I feel about that.
相手がベアトでさえな
If
け
she
れ
were
ば
annoyed,
素直に女の
if
敵
she
と
were
言えるのに
anyone other than Beato, you'd think of him as a true enemy of women. Is that it?
私は
I
お
don't
兄ち
have
ゃ
a
んとベア
clue
トが
why Onichan
ど
and
うして馴れ
Beato
合ってる
act
の
so
か
friendly
先には
together.
思って
Right
ベアト
now,
を
I
倒すべ
think
き
of Beato as
私た
our
ちの最大
greatest
の敵だ
enemy,
と思って
the
る
one we must defeat.
でも
Still,
だからといって
even so.
あのお兄ちゃんの対
As a
応は
woman, I can't say I like
女と
Onichan's
して愉快じ
reaction.
ゃないわ。
バトラの気持ち
In
も
fact, I
少しはわか
understand.
るがな
Though I can understand Butler's feelings a
悲
little,
しいこと
what
だ
a sad state of affairs. I still don't understand what kind of bad blood or connection there was between them. However, Nichan probably views Beato as a friendly adversary, if not something more. Onichan's reason for defeating Beato isn't to destroy an enemy out of hatred. It feels like he wants to give a sincere answer to her questions. Yes, I can't deny the fact that their fight isn't based on hatred, but on a stronger emotion.
さらに言えば
And on top of
あそこま
that,
で冷た
Beato
くされ
really
て
is
それ
something.
でもな
To
おお兄ちゃんに
remain
尽くそうとするベ
dedicated
アト
to
は
Onichan,
大したもんだわ。
even after being treated so
もう
coldly.
一人の姉の
I
ベアトと
agree with her,
私も同意見よ。
with her older. I agree with the other older sister
どうして
Beatrice.
お兄ちゃんにあそこ
I
まで
can't
尽くそう
understand
か
why she's
理解
so
できないわ。
dedicated to Onichan.
そしてその理解できぬ
And
要素
though
は
it may take
千年を経
1,000
て変化を
years,
遂げるとはいえ紛れもな
that
く
single factor that you do not understand must be passed on to the golden witch Beatrice we know so well.
ええ、理
Yes.
解しているわ。
I
このベア
understand
トを
that
知ることも
knowing
また
this
やが
Beato
てのベアトを
leads
知
to
ること
knowing
に
the
つながる。
Beato who is to
そして
come.
それはこのお
It
かし
may
なゲーム
explain
で
the
最大
greatest
の大
piece in
駒
this crazy
と、あるい
game,
は
if not the
このゲ
game
ーム
board
版そのもの
itself.
を説明するかもしれない。
謎多き魔女
Such
で
a
あるな
mysterious witch. Though she said those words, Featherin wore a confident smile on her face. Her sarcastic confidence, as though she already knew the answer, was
ベア
unchanged.
トリーチェ、
Beatrice,
話を聞きたいわ。
I want to ask you something. Yes. What would you like to know,
何でしょうか？
Angie-san?
エンジェさん
Beato, who had been reading a fragment book in the shadows of the study, jumped when Angie called out to
あ
her.
なたはなんで
Why
後ろ
do
宮
you
バ
call
トラ
Ushiramiya
をお父様
Butler
と呼ぶの？
father?
私という駒を
Because he created the
生み出
piece
してく
that I
ださっ
am.
たからです
では
In that
どう
case,
して
why are
後
you
ろ
so
宮バトラにそ
dedicated
こま
to
で尽くす
Ushiramiya
の？
Butler?
駒は生み出
Is
した
there
動
some
物種に
rule that
絶対
pieces
服従
must
しなくては
obey
な
their
らないルー
creator
ルで
who
もある
made them?
そんなルールはな
There
い
is no such rule.
駒は道具
Pieces are tools,
あるいは
like a
なゲー
knife.
ムマスタ
If
ー
the
が上手
game
に
master
扱え
uses
ば
them well,
便利な
they
道
can
具
be quite useful.
しかし扱いを間違
However,
え
if you
れば
use them incorrectly,
自らを傷つけ
they
る
can hurt you as well.
道具になろうと
Whether the
凶
tool
器に
is
なろう
used
と
as a tool or a
そこに道
weapon,
具の意
that
志
has nothing to do with the tool's own
ただ
will.
結果がある
It is merely the result.
じゃあ
In
ど
that
うしてあん
case,
たは
why
お
are
兄ちゃん
you
に
so
何を尽くすの？
dedicated towards
まるでそ
Nichan?
れは
It's almost as though that's your
あなたという駒の目的かのようだわ。
purpose as a piece.
はい
Yes,
それが
that is the purpose
私が
for
生み出
which
さ
I
れ
was
た目
born.
的だからです
あんたを生み出したお兄
Did
ちゃん自身
Onichan,
は
the one
そ
who
の目
gave
的を与
birth
えた
to
の？
you, give you that purpose?
それは違う
You have got that
バ
wrong.
トラはゲーム
Butler
マスターと
merely
して
set
そう
a
いう
piece
役目
with
を
that
持った
role on the
駒を
game board
バ
as
ン
the
ドに
game
置いたに
master.
過ぎないそして
The one who
彼女
gave
という
birth
駒を
to
生み出したのは
this
この
piece
ゲームを生み出
was
した
the
最初の
first
ゲームマスター
game master and the one who created this game, Beatrice herself.
ややこしい話
This is
だ。
getting
つま
confusing.
り
In
あんた
other
はお
words,
兄ち
you
ゃんの
keep
ことを
calling
お
Onichan
父さんお
father,
父さん
but
と呼
he's
んでる
not
けど
actually your
あんた
father.
は
You're
お
just
兄ちゃん
calling
に尽
him
くさな
that
ければならないという
affectionately
親しみを込めて
because you feel
お父
that
様
you
と
have
呼ん
to
でるだけだわ。
dedicate yourself to him.
はい
Yes,
そうだと思います
I think that's true.
私という駒を
Father was the one who
盤
placed
上に
me
置い
on
て
the
くださ
game
ったの
board.
はお父様が
If
盤上
he
に置かな
hadn't,
ければ
my piece would never had a
私という
turn.
駒の出番はありません
Would never have had a
で
turn.
すから
So the reason I exist here right now and the reason I am able to devote myself to my purpose is all thanks to
全てお
Father.
父様のおかげなのです
なるほど。
I
そして
see.
それは
So that's why it makes sense for you
お父様と呼ぶのにふさ
to
わ
call
しい
him
ってこと
father.
じゃあ
In
誰
that
があんたに
case, who
お兄
told
ちゃん
you
に
to
尽くすよ
devote
うに命じ
yourself
た
to
の？
Onichan?
ああ、それは
That's
初代
right.
ゲーム
That's
マ
the
スター
first game
ベアト自
master,
身。
Beato herself.
ああ、ややこしい。
Oh, this is so confusing.
なぜにそなたは
You wish to
後ろに
ask her
は
why
バトラーに
she
尽くさねば
must
なら
serve
ぬ
Ushiramiya Butler,
と
correct?
たしかしそれを彼女に答えることはできぬ彼女に与えられたのは目的だけだ
However, she cannot give you that answer. She was given nothing but the purpose
そ
itself.
の目的を与え
Only the person who gave her that purpose knows the reasons for which they did so.
なるほど
I see.
それも考えてみればいい
Consider that as
情報
well,
よ
child
っ
of
てわけ
man,
ね
right?
で
So,
ついでに
that means you
あんた
already
に
have
は
an
もうその察し
idea
がつい
and
てい
you're
て
laughing at my
ニヤニヤし
confusion.
ながら私が悩んでいるのを見ているってわけだわそなたは
You
我が
really
婿
are
として
just perfect for my
優秀
Miko.
私は
I will do
お父様
anything
に
for
尽くし
father.
ます私の存在
My
が
existence will bring
お
father
父様の
happiness.
幸福のお役に立てるそれが
That is my greatest
私の
pleasure.
そして
And at that point, Beato hesitated.
何
What?
そして
And
何
what?
はい
Yes.
そして
And
それを
and if
い
I
つかお父様にお
could
認
one
めいただけ
day
れ
have
ば
father acknowledge my
そ
efforts,
れが私の
there would be no greater happiness
一
for
番
me.
の幸せなのです
何よそれ
What the
尽
hell?
くしたいってだけな
If
ら
you only wanted to serve him, I'd say you're just another piece of the witch's
そ
furniture.
れを認めてもらいた
But
い
you want him to acknowledge your efforts?
それじゃ家具ってより
That's less like furniture and more like. I just stopped mid sentence. That's less furniture and more like. You're just a girl who loves Unichan. I don't get it. The guiding force behind these Beato's actions is that of a girl who adores Unichan. But then why would that make her if she, but but then what would that make her? If she likes Unichan, then she should have adored him and done things for him herself. Why would she create a piece of herself, a separate entity to do it? This way, if she does attract Onichan's attention, it will be towards the piece version of herself, not the creator who made that piece. If I ever fall in love with someone, I'll probably want to do things for them. But of course, I would want to do these things myself. After all, I want him to notice me. This love is destined to go virtually unrewarded. No matter how devoted she is, she will never get anything out of it. And she's done this out of her own free will. Beato's behavior looks no different from that of an average girl in love. She's devoted, doing all she can for him, dreaming that her kindness will eventually be acknowledged. Why would Beato create a piece like this? Is it putting it in terms of romance a bit too confusing? Then let's try using food as an example. As it is as pointless as creating a piece that eats for you. No matter how much food your piece eats on your behalf, you won't get any less hungry, right? You are the one who wants to eat. There's no reason for having a piece to do that in your place. For most jobs in the world, you can get someone else to do it for you. However, with love and food alone, there can never be any meaning in letting another person do it in your place. That's right. This Beato was created as a piece for an impossible reason. Though at a glance she looks like a normal girl, the more I learn about her, the less I understand, like an imaginary number.
お父様は
Father hates
そう
him
呼ばれる
when
のを
I
嫌
call
われ
him
ていまし
father.
たそしてお父様の
And
望まれる
and the
私
me that father desires didn't
So I
call
only
him by that
misunderstand.
name either.
そうね
Right.
かつてのあんたは
The former
誰が相手で
you
も呼び捨
spoke
て
to
にしてた
everyone without ever using honorifics.
だからといって
However, simply possessing that knowledge doesn't mean that I can refer to father quite that informally.
せめて
I'd like to do my best and make a start by calling him
努力はしたいと思います
Butler-san.
あんなに冷たくされ
I'm
て
surprised you haven't gotten discouraged after being treated so coldly.
おといえ
Father, no.
バトラさ
The
んは
Butler-san is in the middle of an
大切
important
なゲーム
game
に
right
臨まれ
now.
ています相手は
His opponent is the formidable Lady Erika, piece of the great Lady Bencaster.
いよいよゲームが
I
佳境に差
stepped
し
in
掛かろうという
it.
デ
I
リケー
stepped
ト
in
な
at
と
a
ころに
delicate moment in his
私
game,
がしゃしゃり出て
just as it was starting to reach the critical
バ
part,
トラさんが望まない
and called
お父
Butler
様
son,
とい
but
う
that
言葉をか
name
けて
he
しまった
doesn't
の
want to
ですから
hear,
機嫌を崩されて
and
も
so it's no surprise that he was in a bad mood. Apparently, Beato still wanted to devote herself to Butler, even after being treated in such a cold manner. Though to an outsider it just looked as though she's being snubbed, it doesn't faze her at all. It truly is the blindness of a girl in love.
それとも
Or is
私
that
の
I
愛が
can
ないから見えない
or is it that I can't see because I have no love?
愛があれば
At times,
見えぬものが
love
見え
can
る
make
こと
the
もある
invisible visible. Beato once again immersed herself in the fragment book that told of her former self. She was trying to find something about the Beato that Butler desired, and just shrugged as though saying, "Well, I don't get it." Featherin laughed when she saw this and quipped that an innocent young woman could never understand. Enge grumbled something back unhappily. Their interaction seemed to have no effects whatsoever on Beato as she sat in the shadows of the library. After chasing all of the others out, only Butler remained in the study. There was no color in this dimly lit room. However, for just the short time that the plate of cookies had been placed there, the room had seemed at least a little cheery. Butler's gaze drifted over to the desk which no longer had anything on it. When he did, the cookie plate that had been there until a second ago was revived. However, it was an illusion. Though the cookies could be looked at, they could not be touched, much less eaten. If Butler wished, he could make it possible to touch them or eat them, but it would be an empty sensation. It would only give the touch and taste that Butler desired. He no longer had any way of knowing what kind of cookies they had actually been. In a reception sofa facing Butler, a cloud of gold butterflies slowly gathered and took the form of the old Beato.
ほーら食べろよ
Oh, come
わらわが珍しく手作りしたのだぞ安心せよ自信作であるぞ
Dovevo lasciarla parlare, da troppo tempo che non la sentivamo. Oh, come on, have a bite. It's not every day that I'll make these by hand. Have no fear, I'm confident in how well they've turned out.
お嬢様の場合
Hearing that
むし
from
ろ
Milady
自信作の
makes
方
them
が
all the
不安
more
というもので
dubious.
すな
まっ
まったく
たくだぜお前が
Seriously.
作るクッキーなん
Any
て
cookies you made could
どうせお菓
obviously
子な
have
ど
some
が入
kind
って
of
るに決
strange
まってない
poison in them. Or small bombs.
それは心外だ
Shocking that you should think so.
仮に入
Even if I did put something in, it'd be no worse than the kind that does this and maybe that to your new you-know-what.
そういうことばかり普段から
It's
している
because you
から
do that sort of
バトラー
thing
に
all
食
the
べても
time
らえ
that
ないの
Butler
です
Kun will never agree to eat them.
ええ
Hmm? Putting things in someone's food is pretty basic, isn't it?
爪に髪の毛
Fingernails, a bit of hair, magic charms, fragments of love.
あんたたちだったら
What
何を
would
入れ
you
るの
poo-poo? What would you poo-poo? What would you people put in? Yes, ma'am.
何も入れま
I wouldn't put anything in them. I just eat them myself. Ovviamente.
だと思ったわ
Obviously. Do you have to be so predictable?
でも
Well, they say a girl's gotta grab by all three
胃
sacks.
袋は最初の第一歩
Cosa stai dicendo? Cosa stai dicendo, Asmodeus? Calma, calma, calma. So che sei Asmodeus of Last. Cosa sono i three sacks? Cosa sono i three sacks? Well, they say a girl's gotta grab by all three sacks. The first step is the stomach, right?
次がお最
Then next comes the wallet. So what could the third one be?
男を振り向かせるなら身も
If you
心も
catch a guy's attention, I'd want to make him sacrifice his body, heart, and soul to me.
だからこそ
That's why I pour all my power and affection into my cooking. In any event, giving someone food that you've cooked yourself is probably a front or attack, as old as time. It's ridiculous. How pathetic do you think that you would require such skill, such tricks, to grasp a man's heart? Oh, I'd be very interested in hearing how much experience you have in grasping a man's heart, One-sama.
バトラー、何もおかしなもんは入ってないから食ってくれよ。わらわがそなたのためにクッキーを手作りするなんて二度とねえからさ。
Allora, la stellina si pronuncia così, Andrew. Butler, there's nothing weird in it, so have a bite. Don't think you'll ever get a chance to eat my handmade cookies again. Significa devi fare le stelline, devi fare le stelline, devi fare le cose della vittoria così, e devi parlare come una schoolgirl giapponese. Anche se è sarcastico, come fa Beatrice, è la corretta pronuncia. There probably won't be another chance. I slowly stretched out my hand onto the illusion of the cookie plate and touched it. Troppo tardi, Butler, sei un coglione. Che è successo? Quadrato. Just before I did, it became a cloud of gold butterflies and vanished into the darkness of the study. The illusion of Ronove and Virgilia also disappeared. However, the illusion of Beato alone still remained on the sofa.
何が不満か?
Is there something that does not satisfy you?
それも俺に
Are
言わせ
you
るつもり
really
か
going to make me say it?
新しきわらわが
The more the
そ
new
なたの
me
望んだ
differs
姿
from the
とあまり
form
に
you
違
wish
えば
for,
違うほどわらわが
the
二度と
more
蘇らぬ
you
存
are
在であること
reminded
を思
that I
い知
can
らされ
never
る
be
から
revived
で
again.
あろう
Correct? If you let a good woman get away, you never get a second chance. So only now you finally realize what a good woman I was.
うるせえ
Shut
お
up.
前なんか二度と現れな
If
く
you
て
never appear again,
せいせいすら
that'd be a relief. Beato laid sprawled on the sofa and looked up at the ceiling. Butler also turned his back and moved to the window. For a while, there was
分
silence.
かっていると
I think you understand, but
分かってな
I do understand.
そなたの期待す
The
る
me you
わ
were expecting
すでに
has already disappeared.
分かってるあのベアとは
Even though that Beato is
紛
you,
れもない
without a
お前自身
doubt,
でもあっても
she's a different being than the
かつ
former
てのお
you.
前とは異なる存在でお前はもう
Even I can say with certainty,
絶対
you will never revive again.
わらわの
My
魂
soul, femininity, sparkling personality, and splendid characters were cultivated in 1,000 years spent as a witch.
それは全く
Unless
同
an
じ線路と
identical,
感じ
unless an exactly identical 1,000 years is traversed, it is impossible to become me.
すなわち
In short, for the very moment you decide to create me,
すでに
my
生い立ちが
personal
異なる
history will be different.
あ
Yeah.
あお前が絶対に蘇らないなん
That
て
damn Bercastel has already guaranteed that you will never revive.
だが
However,
期待
you
する
still
の
hope
で
for it, don't you?
新しきわらわが
One day
あ
the
る
new
人
me
の角にで
trips
も
and
ポツ
lands
ン
on
と
her
頭を
head,
ぶつけ
and all of her
過去の記憶を
memories of the
取り戻
past
して
are
見事に
spectacularly restored.
みたいなのを期
You are
待してい
hoping
る
for
のであ
something
ろう
like that, aren't you? A delusional plot like that wouldn't even pass in a light novel these days.
うるせえお前だって
Shut
か
up.
つて
Don't pretend you didn't do the
俺
same.
が思い出して
You waited
気づ
and
くのを
waited
ずっとずっと
for me to remember
待ってやがったじゃねえ
and
かよ
take notice. And then what? Does this mean that our relationship now is exactly the opposite as of how it once was?
わらわ
Well,
そなた
there
が
was a
いつかは
time where I
きっと気づく
continued the game believing that you will eventually notice
奇跡が
and remember
そう信じて
that a
ゲームを
miracle
繰り返
would
したこと
occur.
もあったのよ
どういう気持ちだっ
And
た
how did it feel
お前が
when you were playing those games with me?
自分の胸に
As you
聞け
say,
とは
look inside your own heart. It's tough. If only she didn't look so much like you, I wouldn't be so confused about how to feel about her.
まあ好きにせよ
Well, do as you
かつ
wish.
てわらわは
In the past,
Sonata
I
o
toyed
Sai
with you and
Mote
tormented
Asunda.
you.
今度はそなたが
Now's
それ
your chance for
わらわに
revenge
復讐
against
する
me.
番だ新しきわら
The
わは
new me
何
will
もわから
just
ず
wander
おろおろ
about,
するよ
ignorant of everything.
見るも焼くも
You may
そなた次
boil
第
or,
よ
or burn her as you see fit.
積年の恨みも晴れるで
Perhaps
あ
he
ろう
will
か
clear away an old hatred. If she
お
was
前
you,
自
I
身が
would.
相手ならなさぞや
He'd
気分も
probably
爽
make
快
me
だろ
feel
う
a
ぜ
lot better.
だが
But
あのベアと
that
は
Beato
お前じゃない
isn't you.
わらわでないと
Who
いう
is she then, if not me?
お前に奥にいた
Someone very like you, but a different person.
だが
However, there can be no doubt that she is also me.
そうだな
Yeah,
お前自身
she is you,
そして同時に
and at the same time, she's a different person.
ならば
In that case, the new me is most unfortunate.
わらわの身
She's
代わり
being treated like a plaything in my place. How
なん
truly
気の毒な
pitiable.
ことか
That might be the contradiction inside me. Because the new Beato seems like a different person, I can't accept her. Even though I know she's a different person than Beato, she keeps reminding me of her.
ならばいっ
In
そ
that
あ
case,
れは
think of her as my daughter. Ecco. Se c'era bisogno.
娘
Your daughter?
わらわの血を引き
Consider her a blood daughter of mine who closely resembles me.
何しろわらわの
After all, she is my double, but hasn't lived 1,000 years.
そう
So
呼んでもお
calling
かし
her
くはあ
that
る
is not incongruous.
わらわは死して娘を
Imagine that I have died, left behind a daughter, and entrusted her
そう
to
思う
you.
のださすればそなた
That
も
way, won't it become a little easier to think of how to
少
deal
しは
with
考
her?
えやすいのではないか
らしくもなく
It's actually a good
うま
analogy.
い例えをしやがっ
It's
て
unlike you.
茶化すでない
Do not jest.
あやつ
That is my
はわ
daughter.
らわが死んで
She is the child I left behind
そなた
after my
に隠
death.
した忘れがたみだわらわの面
You
影を
are
押し
free
付け
to
るのを
press my
し
likeness upon her.
恨みつらみを
You
わ
may
らわの
also
代わ
let
りにぶ
loose
つ
your
けて
pent up resentment on her in my
慰め者としてもよい。
place,
わらわの罪を背負わ
making
せ
her bear my sins and torturing her as you please may allow you to give vent to your emotions.
それが趣味でないという
If
なら
that is not to your taste, you can also guide her down the right path so she does not end up on the inhumane road that I have tread.
あやつは
She was made to devote herself to you since the
生まれ
moment
な
of
が
her
らで
birth.
きておるそなたが望めば
If you wish, you can mold her into any shape you desire.
千年の奇跡
With
を
the
経
miracle of 1,000 years, she
た
might
わらわ
even
その
become
ものに
me.
さえ
かつてお前にさ
So
れたよう
I
に
could even strip her and drag her around with a chain like you did to me once. Butler, please.
そうだな。
Yes, at this point, even greater humiliation would be possible. She's both your double
そして
and
娘
your daughter, huh? Without a doubt, she is exactly the same person, the same piece, which was created once more by the rule called Beatrice. However, when I can't accept it in that way, I can interpret her as being Beato's daughter. This served as a clear guidepost on how to interact and smooth the uncertainty in my heart. And finally, I could understand how cruel I had just been to her just now. My tears poured to the ground when I followed them with my eyes. I noticed that a white card about the size of a business card had fallen onto the floor. It was the message card that had adorned the cookies. I had rushed her, telling her to clean up and leave right away, which was probably why it had fallen to the floor unnoticed. I picked it up and read the message on it. It was extremely short, pure, and sincere. It brought tears to my eyes, and I was sure that I could read it. So I was sure that I could read it. And yet, my eyes were so blurred with tears that I couldn't see anything. Dai, fammelo leggere. Non lo fa leggere. Oh? Nuova ambientazione. The flood of light and sound suddenly dissipated. Aspetta! The flood of light and sound. Questo è Jessica. Jessica e Canon col brooch. Lo so che sono già le 22. Adesso faremo il cliffhanger, ma voglio vedere qui. Perché The Flood of Light and Sound è il cliffhanger di prima con Jessica e Canon. The silence that followed was not broken by any noise. Not even the sound of the wind and rain outside had been so clearly audible moments before. Ah! Jessica e George? Both Jessica and George timidly opened their eyes. Where in the world was this? It was a strange room that they had never seen before. It looked like a Western tea room. Its furnishings were stylish and expensive. It felt as though a dignified person must own this room. Preparation for black tea were set on the table, and so was a chessboard, which seemed to be halfway through a game. However, there was something strangely out of place. The black and white checkerboard pattern made it feel like chess, but it looked like a very similar yet totally different game that no one knew of. In the same way that it both looked like chess and not chess, the furnishing on this room, no, the room as a whole, looked like, at first glance, like a modern tea room. Modern non c'è scritto. Looked at first glance like a Western tea room, but it also felt something completely different. Just where is this place?
Jessica-chanにカノン
Jessica-chan and Cancun. Shannon?
シャノンはどこに
Where's Shannon?
ジョージ様
I'm
私
right
は
here,
ここにおります
George-sama.
僕もここにいます
And I am here,
お嬢様
milady.
ジョージ様
George-sama.
このような場所にお連れ
We
したこと
apologize for bringing you to a place like this.
一体何がどうなっ
What on earth is going on?
シャノンが取り出した
You took out something that looked like a butterfly wing and started shining, and then the
私も
same thing happened to
カ
me.
ノン君が
Canon Kun took out this golden butterfly brooch thing and it started to sparkle and...
お嬢様
Milady,
George-
George-san, first of
まず
all,
はご無礼をお許
please
しください
allow us to apologize.
そしてどうか
And
落
please
ち着
stay
いてくだ
calm.
さいこれから
Something strange is about to happen.
その不思議な
That
存在
strange thing will probably
私た
test
ちを
us.
試すでしょう
試す
test us?
それがひょっと
Do
し
you
てさっき
mean
君が言ってい
that
た
trial you were just
僕
talking
たちが
about
結ばれるために
that we have
乗
to
り越えなくてはなら
overcome
ない
if we want to
試
be together?
というやつなのか
Is that it? A trial?
お嬢様に
I haven't explained it to
説
you
明してい
yet,
ませんでした
lady.
お詫びします
My apologies.
しかしどうか
But please,
先ほどのお嬢様
if your words just a second ago were the truth,
どうか
please lend me your strength.
僕も
I will give everything I've got. So please. I'm not getting any of this.
ジョージ兄さんは
Do you know something, George Nisan?
一応はね
A bit.
今の状況を
I'm just as surprised as you about what's happening now.
しかし
But if they say that this is an unavoidable trial, that's essential for us to go through.
僕は
I
何が訪れ
intend
よ
to
うと
take on whatever
受
may
けて
come.
立つつもりだよ
試練
A trial?
カノン君
Kanon-kun?
ブローチを
The brooch. Yeah. The two of them brought the halves of the broken golden butterfly brooch closer to each other. As they grew closer, the strength of their bright yellow radiance increased.
ジェシカちゃんもどうか
Jessica-chan, I want you to brace yourself for this.
僕には
I'm already
すで
mentally
にその準
prepared.
備がある
What are you talking about?
私には
I don't have a clue.
一体
What the hell's going on?
試練だよ
It's
愛
trial,
し合う二人のための
a test
試練
for a pair of lovers. George spoke those corny words without any hesitation. It was such an embarrassing line that Jessica couldn't help turning red. But the expression on George's face, which was so serious that it was almost grim, forced her to tense up as well. Shannon and Cannon were just as serious, with a glow in their eyes, as though they were taking part in a sacred duel. The pair of them brought the two gold butterfly wings together. Then the wings became a single brooch and regained their magical power. An even more intense light filled the room, and the scene was burned into the retinas of all present, as the brooch shattered and two shining things flew out of it. People live for the sake of love. Yes, this world is love itself. Oh, how great is the power of love!
愛こそは
Love is everything! Suddenly, the voices of two people they had never heard before rang out. What was that? Who were they? George and Jessica nervously opened their eyes. When they did, they saw the two demons had appeared there, almost as though the brooch which had been split in two had become them. Oh, this is odd, Furfur. Why are we in a place like this?
本当に不思議です
It's really strange, Zepar.
人間とカゴしかい
There's
ない
no one but humans and furniture.
魔女はどこ
Where is the witch?
私たちを呼び出すに
Where is the witch capable of summoning us?
あ
Yes, we remember well the name of the witch of the contract, don't we?
呼んでみようじゃないか
Why don't we try calling for her, Furfur? Yes, you're right, Zeppa.
私たちは契約
We know the name of the witch of the contract, the Golden Witch.
じゃあ呼んでみよう
Then let's try calling her name.
せーの
All together now.
テアトリーチェ
Given their manner, exaggerated like a theater play, and their slightly ridiculous style of talking, it would probably be hard to immediately comprehend the great power these demons possessed. When the two demons called Beatrice's name, a cyclone of gold butterflies picked up throughout the room. Then it took the form of two golden witches. What's this?
テアトリーチェ
There are two Beatrices? Well, there are two of us as well. Why shouldn't there be two Beatrices every now and then? This is my double and little sister. We are the same as a single person. Pleased to meet you.
お久しぶりです
It has been a long time, Beatrice-sama. Am I dreaming?
同感だね。
I feel the same.
しかし
Still, it's too early to get dumbfounded. Unlike Jessica, George had maintained his composure even during this bizarre scene. After all, Shannon had already told him what would happen next. Demons of the contract, it has been too long. Zephyr, and you too, Furfur.
ああ、お久しぶり。
Oh, long time no see.
君は相変わらず
You seem to be in high spirits as always.
それにしても
But look at your cute little sister here.
潤んだその
Those
みずみずしい
juicy eyes must have the taste of white peaches when they grow teary. Oh well, I wonder. Zephyr and Furfur latched onto Beato from either side wearing strange smiles. Each movement they made was exaggerated yet polished, as though they were acting out a play.
それくらいにしておけ
Leave it at
契
that
約
for
の悪
now,
魔たち
demons of the contract.
その悪ふざけ
To
も
think that tonight would be the last time we see that mischievous spirit,
寂しいも
it would be dearly missed.
の見納めとは
The last time,
僕たちの
the
酔いしろのブロ
brooch,
ーチは
our vessel,
もう
has
壊さ
been
れてしまったからね
destroyed. In other
つま
words,
りこれでも
our role
お
is
役
finished.
ごめんというわけ
Yes, it has been fun, Beatrice.
でも契約じゃ取
However,
り決めで
it was decided when the contract was made,
最後の別れに
it was
もう一
decided
度だけ
that we
力を
must
重ね
lend
ばなら
our
ないと
power
決まっ
one
ていた
more
のさ
time before we bid our final farewell.
だから
So, this is truly the final miracle.
愛の奇跡は一度で十分
Once is enough for the miracle of
だ
love.
って永久
After
の愛
all,
に二度目は
eternal love
不要
will
な
never
の
be
だ
needed a second time.
そういうわけ
There you have it.
愛し合う男女た
Lovers,
ちよ
male and female,
ここに集いしは
gather here
奇跡
are
なく
those
して恋を
cursed,
成就できる
absent
呪わ
a
れし
miracle
者たち
to unsuccessful love.
その奇跡を
The
与え
power of the
黄
golden
金の
butterfly
ブロー
brooch,
チの力は
which can
ナ
grant
コ
such
が
a
ワメコ
miracle,
が今宵
is your
限り
last chance.
最後のチャン
And
ス
like it or not, this chance is limited to this
そ
evening.
れは
This
一組の
miracle
つが
can
い
be
にし
given
か与え
only
られる
to a single pair.
僕は
I won't lose.
負けないよ
Yeah,
お互い
let's both give it our all. Shannon and Canon exchanged a serious gaze. Both had already readied themselves to fight for the sake of their love's success.
よくわ
I really
からね
don't
え
get
け
it,
どよおかしな
but
悪魔
I
の
don't
力
want
な
to
んて
borrow the power of some strange demon. Jessica was finally starting to figure out the direction that things were headed. These demons were probably planning to pit her and Canon against George and Shannon.
はっきり言わせてもら
Let
う
me
か
be totally clear. Don't need your help.
私とカノン君の中
Canon Kun and I can handle our relationships by ourselves.
怪しげな悪魔
I'm
の
not
つわり
gonna
なん
be
か
pressured into
なるのに
turning
は
into
さ
some
せない
shady
ぜ
demons for help.
お嬢様
Lady, please listen.
この試練を乗
Listen.
り越えなければ
If we don't
僕
overcome
た
this
ちは結ば
trial,
れないのです
we cannot be together.
ジェシカ
Jessica,
受け入れる
accept it.
それが彼
This is the only
人間
trial
と
that can be
結ばれようと
imposed on upstart
身の程知
furniture
らずに
wishing to be
唯
joined
一
with a
の試
human.
練なのである
家具とか人
More
間
of
と
this
か
stuff about furniture and humans.
勝手に言ってる
Yammer on about that all you want, but it has nothing to do with us.
お嬢様には
You
まだ
haven't
話
told
して
me,
いない
lady, yet?
どう説明すればいいか
Don't know how to explain it.
カノン君
Canon-kun, Shannon, and you, Jod-Nisan. Why are you listening to these creeps?
人の恋路を
No
邪魔
one
する
can
奴は
stand in the way of a
馬に蹴られ
person's
て
love.
死ねって決まってんだぜなんで悪魔
Why
た
do
ちに
you have to
認められなきゃならねえ
get
んだよ
approvals from these demons?
余計なお世
It's
話だ
none of their business.
さては
Well,
困
it
った
seems
わ
we
から
have
ずやない
quite
か
a
もな
troublesome blockhead amongst us.
このままゲームを始めても
We
よいが
could begin the game like this, but it would be
それでは
hardly
フェア
fair.
とは言えない
Couldn't you explain it for
いいのでは
her?
ないでしょうか私にも
I don't understand that well myself. Is this some kind of problem with love between Jessica and Kano-san? Oh my, it seems you understand nothing at all. With our blessing, the pair can cultivate their love at their leisure. No need to worry about suspicious demons. However, without our blessing, your love will vanish, disappear, wither and decay. Per me sono Team Rocket loro due, comunque. Io sto facendo la mia impression di James e Jessie. How the hell are you so sure? Because it is fate. You may choose not to accept it. You may choose not to resist it. What happens if you choose not to resist it? Aspetta. Oops. That love will end. Well, an abstract explanation isn't so convincing. Well now, how can you explain the dead-end fate you're in? Ushinomiya Jessica, the future you two share is far more grim than you realize. If you don't gain the miracle of magic, disaster will most certainly befall you both. The infection within will fester and split the two of you apart. Even I will not be so bullish as to describe the details of that process. However, if you will not believe Jessica, I will tell you how it ends. Canon will stop being a servant and leave this island for all eternity. You will probably leave the island yourself in search of the one you love, but such a venture will doubtlessly be in vain. Yes, and then you will mourn and hate. Hey, who? You! Me? No, the you of this moment! With a dramatic gesture, the two of them pointed at Jessica. They were saying that if she passed this by, it would be herself who will regret it later. What the hell are you saying? When you have lost the one you love, you will realize how much you hate the person you were when you ran away from the trial to complete that love. Yes, we are messages from the you of the future. Please, at this very moment, take your love seriously and fight. And you will, if you don't listen to the message of the you from the future, the foolish snake eating its own tail will keep on gulping. Endless cycle of suffering will swallow itself and simply vanish. What the hell are you talking about? Jessica's confusion showed up on her face as anger. However, a memory of something she had heard a long time ago surfaced in the back of her mind. Unlike Nesan, I don't plan on working here for many years. After just a few years, or possibly, if Nesan ever decides to stop working here, I think I'll stop working too. If you give up on the miracle of magic and leave it to Shannon and George, they will be joined and leave the island. After that, Kan will leave the island as well. That is an unavoidable fate. Then what if they can obtain the miracle of magic? Of course, Canon will remain on the island by Jessica's side for all time. He will probably be able to start learning music and with Jessica as she wished for. How the relationship will progress afterwards is a matter for the two lovers. This may deepen their relationship slowly all by themselves, as Jessica wanted. However, if that happens, George and I will not be joined. For the sake of our own happiness and future,
戦わねばなら
We
ない
are fated to
運命
fight.
なんです。
ふざけるなよ。
Are you kidding me?
なんだよそれ。
What the hell? So if we are joined, the other pair will split apart?
そんな
What kind of demon's game is this?
間違える
Don't be mistaken, you will not be taking something from each other. Without the power of the golden butterfly brooch, neither love is fated to bear fruit. And who the hell decided that? It is due to your sin of falling in love with furniture, which is not allowed to love. Didn't Canon clearly rejected you, saying that furniture was not qualified to love? Knowing that, you chose Canon as the one you loved. I won't let you get away with saying that you didn't know. Though she couldn't accept any of it, Jessica was unable to argue back. Then George spoke up with that soft tone that he always used to smooth things over. However, his expression was still ruthlessly serious.
ジェシカちゃん
Jessica-chan,
こう考えないかい
can't you think of it as this way?
考えるって
Think of it what way?
僕はね
I love Shan.
シャノンを愛しているどんな試練も
I am
一緒に
prepared to overcome any and all trials and obstacles that stand in the way of us being together.
君はどうだい
What about you?
そりゃ
Well, one or two setbacks aren't gonna stop me. I'm
こんな
tougher
こと
than
嫌がる
that.
つもりはねえぜ。
Yes,
ならそういう
that's
こと
what
で
this is about.
僕たちは今
Right now we are being tested.
僕たちが
Tested to see who can display the strength of our feelings more strongly.
ジョージ兄さんは
Are you actually satisfied with this insanity?
納得なんか必要
There
ない
is
ぞ
no need to be satisfied. When I gave Shannon the engagement ring, I swore to fight all trials and barriers that stand in my way,
どんな理不尽な
no matter how unreasonable or incomprehensible those trials might be. Backing down is not an option. George spoke clearly, then looked at Jessica with a cold gaze. By now, Jessica almost understood. If she kept on grumbling and refusing this demon's trial, the game between the two groups would automatically end with her defeat by default. In other words, George and Shannon would win. Then they would gain the miracle of magic, their love would be completed, and Jessica and Canon would split apart, with Canon eventually leaving the island and never seeing her again.
僕にとって
Personally,
君がこの試練を
nothing
一
would
度に
make me happier than you backing
こ
out
れ
of
ほど
this
嬉しいこと
trial.
はないんだ君と
That way I wouldn't have to fight you,
そして
but it would reveal just how little you actually feel
そ
for
の程度の
Canon
ものだ
Kun.
ったんだね
It seems as though George spoke ruthlessly, but he was actually being exceptionally fair. If he came to a loss by default, Jessica would never be able to clear away her lingering regrets. That would leave a bad aftertaste even for George.
と僕たちは
We must fight fair and square for that single miracle.
その結果
Even if I lose at
彼
the
互い
end,
がベストを尽くした
I'll be able to accept it if we both give it our all.
そして
And because of that, I will able to cheer on the victors from the
相手
bottom
を
of my
祝福で
heart.
きる
George's determination is quite impressive.
そこまでよ。
After hearing all of that,
君は
are
逃げ
you
出すの
still going to run away? The two demons giggled and challenged her. Of course, George didn't laugh, but he too challenged her with cold eyes.
シャノンは
Shannon,
お許しください。
please forgive me, milady.
私は
For the sake of me being joined with George's son, I am determined not to flinch in my resolve.
たとえ
Even if I know
私の思い
that
を
staying
貫
true to my
お嬢
heart
様の恋路
will
に
never
立たせたことを
end,
知っている
will mean the end of your loving relationship. Shannon had never before spoken to Jessica with such a serious and solemn words. Jessica was surprised to realize just how strong the determination was that dwelt within her usually weak and clumsy friend.
カノン君
Canon-kun,
僕は
I want to start a new life with you, milady.
その歩みが
Even if that life means
踏み越
crushing
えていくことを
Nathan's
意味しようと
happiness,
僕はここ
I will not falter now. Canon was also doing all he could to be strong. Yes, All of them were being serious and frank, and abandoning any naivety they might have possessed. All this about golden butterfly brooches and miracles of magic, and the trial and the demons were giving that the demons. All this about golden butterfly brooches and miracles of magic and the trial that the demons were giving them, none of it mattered. Only one thing was being tested: whether or not they possessed the strong will to make their love come true. Jessica clenched her fists and hung her head shaking while biting her lower lip. She was silent, but she would probably give an unwavering will of steel before too long. She just needed a little time first. The two demons who taunted people with dramatic gestures did not violate this silence. Unswavering, non so cosa vuol dire unswavering. Vabbè. The two demons who taunted people with dramatic gestures did not violate this silence that Jessica needed to resolve herself. Love brings about conflict, and this conflict gives rise to determination. As the demons of love, they could understand more fully than any others how noble that determination was. Jessica-san? Furthermore, this magical miracle is something that can be received by you as well. By me? Lo sto dicendo anche io. By me too? What do you mean? She had thought this had been about the two pair of lovers. Beato was surprised to suddenly hear that this had something to do with her as well. With the miracle of the golden butterfly brooch, even your wish that your affection for Butler would be acknowledged can be granted easily. And without that miracle, you too would also never be bound. It means that you're no outsider to this either. To cut across the marshes of love. That is your wish, is it not? We will not make light of your wish. Even your relationship with Butler will eventually fester and rot. Even you, with your optimistic attitude, must understand that this fate will eventually come to pass, barring some kind of miracle. Well, Beato hung her head sadly. She wasn't about to let the cookie incident break her spirit. However, it would have been a massive lie to say that it didn't hurt her. The more she tried to get close to Butler, the more she hurt him. However, she had been born in order to get close to Butler. She was like a hedgehog freezing in cold and bunching together with others for warmth. But she had approached him because of love and had been hurt for it. If you understand this much, and trusting your fate to a miracle may prove to be of some interest. As they say, an unbought lottery ticket ends you nothing. Zepar, Fufu, let my little sister join in too. Un triello. Oh, of course. Welcome. Second, Beatrice. We were planning on including you from the very beginning. After all, we are Zepar and Furfur, the demons of love. Io direi ci fermiamo qua, dai. Ci fermiamo qua con Beatrice che entra nel cerchio. Con questa bellissima musica ci leggiamo la descrizione dei due demoni e ce ne andiamo a Nanna. Vediamo se c'è qualcuno da raidare e ce ne andiamo a Nanna. Però intanto leggiamo. Zepar, one of the 72 great demons, presides over love and tests others through trials. Zephyr grants the contractor undying, unmeasurable defensive power. This gives the contractor the courage not to dread of any love's wounds. A hunter of love who loves to prey upon passive men. It is of a different gender than Furfur. Furfur, one of the 72 great demons, presides over loves and tests others through trials. Furfur grants the contractor endless, inexhaustible offensive power. This gives the contractor the courage not to fear any of love's barriers. A trainer of love who teaches passive men the taste of flesh. It is of a different gender than Zephyr. Non si sa di che genere sono entrambi, semplicemente uno è di un genere diverso dall'altro. I due demoni sono di due generi differenti, lascio a voi l'headcanon di decidere chi è cosa.